Good evening. My name's Sam, and I'm doing the intro this week. No, it's not. It's Almost an Agreement, everybody. Almost an Agreement at gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Look us up at almostanagreement.com. All the episodes are available on there, as well as your favorite podcast providers. Please, while you're in these places, social or otherwise, give us a like, share, friend, follow, 5-star review. Help us out. Tell your friends about us. Complain about us online. That's what we're going to talk about a little bit tonight. But, we're looking forward to this big 22 election cycle. It's going to be crazy. Hornbeck sent me his submission for our job cheat sheets kind of thing that I'm working on. So that's cool. I appreciate Mr. Hornbeck for that. So we'll talk about that some as well as whatever else pops up. We're almost in agreement. And here we go. It's 2021 is almost over. So anyway, we might do a little bit. I don't know. We talked about a year in the review show, but we haven't really planned it out very well. So we'll see what happens. Hey, buddy, what's up?
Hey.
So, year in review, go.
Okay. So, January 1st, it was a cold day.
It was a cold day. Was it?
Pretty sure. Because we had a bunch of snow for Christmas last year.
Did we? I don't remember.
So
I remember
it was probably still kind of chilly.
Being a colder Christmas than we've had. We didn't have a white Christmas, did we?
Yeah. Snowing like Christmas Eve.
Nice.
I think that's when we got heavy was Christmas Eve.
It was so awesome, I forgot about it.
I think, or maybe the 23rd. Remember we had a white Christmas because it was like the first time in
forever.
Yeah.
I don't remember. All right, so I'll just go ahead. I'll pitch my fit now.
Okay, pitch your fit.
Because we didn't really prepare a 21 in review. Really, it's all pandemic. A couple of the major cases, and we've talked about those plenty. I don't feel like and most of the cases that went on this year are kind of coming to a head now, and we've talked about them more recently because of the different activities. But so I got in trouble for letting Eric Wader on the show, basically, and it doesn't upset me. Like, I'm not angry about it. It more upsets me in the grand scheme of what the dialogue that comes out of it.
Yeah.
And it's like people telling me that I'm an idiot and I'm an asshole for letting this guy come on the show and lie. And it's like, okay, I'll own the idiot part because I didn't catch him in the lies because I didn't know what he was lying about. I'm lazy because I don't edit, but that's something that we've never done, and that's the format of the show is not for me to do a taping and then go back in and slice in. Well, Eric said 6.2% in property tax. Well, it was actually 4.94% in sales taxes up over last year. But so he misspoke on that. Just to correct that, I'm not going to do that in post.
Back to the show,
right? I'm just not going to do that in post again out of laziness. But also, that's not like how uncomfortable would that be to listen to? And at least if you take the word of everybody that was yelling at me about it, he was lying every 3 seconds. So the whole show would be, real quick, just a correction here. Real quick, just a correction here. And so I didn't bother. But anyway, so I shared it into the Compass page because the main reason I shared it in the Compass page was the funny part is we were talking about stuff, the state of local media and stuff like that. And he brought Compass up as being a good news source. And I was like, yeah, I like Compass a lot. And so we talked about how we like Compass and they do a good job. I was like, oh, well, we'll go ahead and finish the plug and tell you guys to subscribe to Compass. I'll put a link in the show notes, and I did. And so I shared the episode to Compass because we talk nice about him. And so it goes in. I don't know. It's kind of fun to have an engaged post that people get excited about and want to talk about. But it really just you can not like Eric, that's fine, and you can call him a liar, that's fine, but not personally and not in a personal way. But in a larger scheme of the dialogue and the way it happens is fuck you if you think I'm at fault for anything here. I'm not at fault for anything. Somebody tried to say that I was pushing their agenda. And it's like, dude, have you listened to the show at all other than this episode? Go tell me whose agenda I'm pushing. Theirs, obviously, was the quote. And it's like, I've had Gloria Johnson on here. I've had Tommy Smith on here. I've had every candidate you can think of that lives there that is left-leaning that I've been able to get on here. And it wasn't like a Fox News broadcast where I bring in a lefty person and shit all over him for a half hour. I let them come in and I let them talk and let them do their thing. I treat them the same as I treat everybody else. And that's what bothers me personally. It's like, dude, this is the format of the show. This is how we do the show. If you don't want to listen to other shows, that's fine. But don't tell me what my agenda is because you listen to one episode and happens to be a guest that you fucking hate. So either listen to other shows or shut up because you're telling me how I'm doing my job. And it's like, well, one, it's not a job, but you're telling me how to do my show when you don't know my show. You don't know the show at all. You don't know what we do here. And again, and I understand it's a little complicated because we do this show, which is different than my interview shows. But the theme is throughout. Like we're not going back in editing. We don't try to pretend like we're whatever. Somebody told me we should put a disclaimer on the intro that says we don't fact check our guests.
Really?
Yeah. And it's like, why would I fact check a guest? And to be fair...
This is not an editorial or a news story.
Right. I make fun of the idea that I'm anything close to a journalist.
Dialogue podcast.
And so, it's like, if somebody's in here and it's something that I know for a fact, like I know it because I've talked to other people about it or I've read it in some other source and I actually know it.
Wait, no, I've heard this number.
Right. They say this. I'm like, I don't think that's quite correct.
Right.
I will correct it if I know it, but I'm not going to know everything. And somebody else is like, well, have you been doing the show for a long time to keep running this I don't understand what's going on shtick? It's like, it ain't a shtick. It's not a shtick. It's not me pretending to make it sell better.
Is it more complicated than that?
I don't know what's going on. And I'm trying to, and I still don't know what's going on. And if and I guess I kind of lean into the shtick because instead of trying to pretend like I know what's going on, I acknowledge it and talk about it that way. I don't try to talk about stuff as if I'm more educated than the masses because I think that's one of the problems with the media in general is I think that's how I got to talking about it with Eric as we were talking about Hornbeck. I like Hornbeck's blog. I read it fairly regularly. But even me, who's trying to keep up with stuff, has a hard time reading Hornbeck because he has been in it so long and he knows everybody so well that if you don't know the players involved, it doesn't quite click together.
Right.
Because he's talking to you about it like you know everything. And it's just like, here's a detail to add to the pile. It's like, well, dude, I don't know the pile, so I don't know what that detail means. And again, I like his stuff. He does good, interesting stuff. He does a bunch of reporting on things that nobody pays attention to. And a lot of it that show like he's been really hard on this Knox County Sheriff's Merit Council thing.
Merit Council.
Yeah, because apparently Spangler... And this is my understanding of reading Hornbeck on it is apparently Sheriff Spangler has brought in an outside attorney to represent him and his office. And traditionally
Is it holding them on retainer in case?
No, like they're working for him and Knox County Knox County Sheriff's Office budget is going to pay this guy. But he's not using that guy we don't like and I bitch about all the time.
Oh, Buck.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah.
Buck.
Buck.
Yeah. Pretty sure or is that the city DA?
No, that's county.
Just a county DA. Okay.
It is county. So, anyway, and so there's this weirdism going on there. And like I said, I've been trying to read it and trying to keep up with it, but Hornbeck does it. It's like, this guy is representing the sheriff's office, but it should be the county law director. It should be inside the county law department. It's weird that he's spending county dollars on an outside attorney to represent him and his employees, and so there's a bunch of these little these little fights that are going on, and the Merit Council, as I understand it, arbitrates civilian and deputy complaints as well as deputy complaints against the department. So if a sheriff's deputy has a problem with something that's going on, thinks he's being treated unfairly because of a color issue or whatever it is, the Merit Council is supposed to sit over and preside over the hearing and make a decision on what the process is after that. So he's been really good about keeping up with that. But I mean, even in my explanation, trying to paraphrase him, I'm filling in a bunch of gaps of me guessing because he doesn't put those details in his.
I think this is what
his
this
reporting,
means.
right? Which again, for those that understand and know what's going on, it's a great source. For the rest of us, it's a little bit. You just got to kind of guess at stuff.
Got to be in the know a little bit to an extent.
And also, I think it's weird that he is on the state Republican executive committee and he's publishing a news source. I think that's a little and he also does ads for people's campaigns on his blog, which I think is kind of a weird conflict of interest situation. I don't know what the rules are, if there's a rule breaking in place here, but I think it's kind of odd that he is on the state executive committee for the GOP, but he's also publishing a paper, which is one of the things that Eric kind of threw out there. A bunch of different left people that are in the media, pushing their media out and stuff like this. But one of the things he brought up to attention that I thought was interesting, and you wouldn't have seen this because you were a Brenter, but apparently, and this is to push back on them too. This is why this one stuck out to me. He was talking about how on their city, he was sitting there. That's why I keep pointing there. He was talking about how on the city tax bill that went out, the city property tax bill, when they sent them out, they had included a letter with a bunch of information about the progress the city's been making, which on the surface, especially if you're a partisan person and don't like Kincannon and the left-leaning city council or whatever the fuck you want to call it, you take that as that's electioneering, that they're trying to inform the voters about how great the current people are to help get their people elected, which I, in the moment, not knowing the facts on it, but just thinking like that seems a little hinky, asked him, I was like, well, do they do that every year or do they just do it on election years? He says he doesn't know. It's like, I don't know either. I'm not a city resident. I never see it. But that is me pushing back on something that I didn't believe, that or maybe that seemed hinky, but also had grounds for being a normal thing, so it's not so hinky.
Even if they did it on election years, it'd be one thing if they were putting it out next year, but if they're putting it out November, December of this year.
No, it went out. It went out back in August or something like that. It was before the election. That was the point he was trying to make.
Well, this was like the lead up into next year's elections. I'm like, people are going to forget that shit.
Right. No, it was like at least, and I don't know the facts on that either, when it was sent out versus election day and stuff like that. And he illustrates something that I have made issues when I talk to Matt Shears as well, and like how much data they have. According to his data, they won early voting day one. They won early voting day two. And it's like, how do you know that? It's like, well, our data says it. And it's like, well, how do you, I don't understand how you know that. And Matt didn't verify this particular item, but Matt says the same thing when I talk to him about stuff like that.
Right.
It's like, we know we did this well. Like, these people showed up. These many people showed up. That means this or whatever. And at least according to Eric, who's apparently a fucking liar or whatever, he was 1% off his projections for early voting from the data he had. Because you don't get to see the results of early voting until after the ballot box closes.
Right.
And so it's like, that's, I think that's kind of creepy. And so he brought up the idea of, since the parties are so good at knowing the data, how much does that change the way these election cycles work? When, let's say, again, because I always go to the District 18 race of 2020, let's say the Manus Couch race, from their data and early voting was closer than they thought. And well, that's not a good one because they thought the Democrats thought they could win 18 anyway, and we're spending a ton of money on it. But just for hypothetical, let's say Democrats are like, I don't think we've got a chance at 18. It's a good candidate we put up there, but all the indicators are showing that this other person is really gonna just take care of it. It's not worth us spending money on that district.
Right.
But the data shows in the first couple days of early voting that Virginia Couch, being the example we're playing with here, is doing a lot better than they thought. They shift gears and start throwing a lot more money and a lot more effort and a lot more whatever. This is Eric's complaint, was that this is what happened in the city races, is that data was showing that the Republicans were winning early voting, so the Democratic Party kicked into high gear and started really going out and working harder. They thought they had it in the bag, and if it was only a week, they wouldn't have had much time to catch up, which might have made it harder for them to keep their candidates. I don't know.
Can you do exit polls at early voting?
Sure. I mean, you could do physically. You could stand there and be like, "Hey, who'd you vote for?" They don't have to answer it.
Right.
But I mean, they know the data. There's no question there. That is a fact. I don't know exactly how Eric gets access to the data since he's not a member of the GOP.
Right.
I don't know what that relationship is and where that comes from per se. But he has access to the data. Daniel obviously has access to the data. Matt Shears talks about the access they have to the data all the time. Like, because again, I get it. Like, if I saw Eric Wader go into the election booth, I'm going to say that's one vote for this, that's this, and this if that's on his ballot. And I can churn the data out because it's easy. It's the same thing like Matt told me, like which primaries I pulled, which elections I voted in, which ones I didn't. It's all in there. And that's just their public record stuff from election records, and then they aggregate other stuff from other places into your profile.
Right.
And they basically break it down to I think they call me like a center right, something like that. I can't remember what the terminology is for it. But basically, for the Republicans, or for the Democrats, I'm not worth spending money on. I'm not going to vote for a Democrat. They don't think it's possible that I would vote for a Democrat, so they don't spend money on me, marketing to me for their candidates. That may change. I don't know. But from my voting record and other data that they have in this thing, that's how they feel like I am. So taking that premise and a person like Eric Wader, you apply the data and know that he voted, you know that he voted for the right-leaning candidates. I could see how that goes out. But how, for a normal Joe Schmo out there, I don't know how you get that. Like, it's weird to me that exists and is a normal thing.
Information on everybody's out there.
Yeah, but I guess like of all the things that people were complaining about that episode, that's not something that everybody's like, wait, he has what data? With or without the party? You know, that part's another weirdism on top of it. Like when Matt first told me about it, I was like, seriously?
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me per se. It sounds like, I mean, elections are a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Right, it was just something you didn't really realize, think about.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, I'm an asshole. I think I'm evil because I allowed him to speak. I did now get to chat earlier today with Chris Barber. Eric made some mention, and I said no relation because I don't know who this Chris Barber person is.
Right.
And he jumped in on the comment page, and I was like, okay, good note. Where's your family from? And so they're from West Tennessee, which is not where my family's from, so it's unlikely that we're related.
Different barbers.
Yeah. So... But yeah, I made a joke. I was like, that'd been a fun random connection if we were like fifth cousins or something like that.
Right.
But alas, unlikely. Anyway, that was the Eric Wader's aftermath debacle.
Have we figured out the proper pronunciation for the compass colloquy?
I don't know.
Colloquy.
I need to get I'll just remind me next time I have Scott or...
Seeing the word, it's not colloquial, so I was just guessing that was the word you were trying to say.
Colloquy. C-O-L-L-O. See, this proves the point, people. I'm an idiot.
Colloquy.
C-O-L-L-O-Q-U-Y. Colloquy. Compass colloquy.
Alexa, how do you say this word?
Great picture of Dolly on the banner there, so good on you, Jesse and Scott, for putting together the colloquy. So yeah. Anyway, get that part out.
Nice.
Anybody, if Rivers or whatever your name was that's not listening to the show, or Betty, I've invited both of them on the show. Betty hates me, so whatever.
You can call in.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have her. You can come on the show, Betty, anytime you want. But she's old, and it's not worth her time to listen to our show, so she's not going to hear the invite. Because she's busy doing whatever a retired journalist does. Which, I may have fucked up. I may have burned that bridge a little earlier than I should have, because as far as institutional knowledge and some history of how these different offices and stuff work, she probably would have been a good source. But she's a super partisan hack, and doesn't want to talk to anybody that's willing to talk to somebody else, so... That's that.
It's not journalistic.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know her history in journalism. I just know her through Facebook. And everything she does on Facebook is partisan, super hacky partisan stuff. And then she goes and calls me evil for having Eric on the show. And in other instances of talking to her and understanding and realizing who she is and asking her to come on the show, she basically told me to fuck off. And it's like, why? You want to set the record straight. You want to tell me how dumb Eric is. Come on and get on the show and tell me how dumb Eric is. I like to quote Rogan all the time. The answer to, it's not even a Rogan quote, it's Rogan quoting somebody else, but the answer to bad speech is not less speech, it's more speech. You want to come on here and you want to talk your ideas, and you want to be an idiot, give me somebody else who wants to correct the record, because I'm sadly incapable. But I'm okay with that. So, anyway.
Be okay.
I don't know what else is going on. Swearing in was today. City council swore in today. Nothing changes. I mean, I don't know. It's like, it's kind of a do-nothing event, but...
Reaffirmation.
Yeah. Great pictures of... I saw some great pictures of everybody with Matt Shears' baby.
Really?
Yeah, he went to the event and brought his baby.
Mm.
Which, I think it's probably already outgrown the onesie that I bought that I didn't get printed in time. Would have been a cool Christmas present, but probably too small.
Gotta get them shit to grow into.
Yeah. Well, I got a 6-month one a year ago.
Yeah.
And our friend that does screen printing and stuff like that was going to make me almost an agreement onesie for her. But alas, I'm sorry for him. Excuse me, it's a him. I guess it's a it. I don't know. That's a bad joke. I apologize.
Okay.
I don't want to misgender the baby. Anyway. Biden, this is my favorite little Biden. The only thing Biden this week, Biden was in Kentucky or Illinois doing some tornado stuff.
Yeah, saw a tiny bit of that.
And there was some guy there that he met who was wearing a bunch of Packers gear. And Biden said to the guy, "You need to get your boy to get a shot." Which the article read it like the headline, and it is a clickbaity headline. But, Biden had choice words for Aaron Rodgers' COVID vaccine status or something like that. And it goes through the article, and it's really just like, Biden's here in Kentucky looking at all the damage from the tornadoes that came through and this, that, and the other. Where he came across a man in all Green Bay Packers gear, and to which he leaned over and said to him, and then it puts it in quotes. And I paraphrased it. I don't remember the exact quote. To which, my understanding of it, I'm not friends with Aaron Rodgers or anything, but he has a specific allergy. Like in every drug ad you ever see, don't take this medicine if you're allergic to X, Y, or Z. He has a specific allergy that's in the Pfizer and the Moderna, and maybe the Johnson & Johnson. I don't remember. It's propylene something or other. Propethylene or something like that. He has an allergy. That was at least his excuse for not taking it. I don't know if it's factual. I haven't talked to his doctor, nor has his doctor come out and...
I think I did hear a snippet about that. He
let the information out.
Supposedly had something, but... I don't know.
Well, I mean, he's had COVID now, so that doesn't matter at all.
I'm not going down this rabbit hole again with
Okay, well then let's talk about something else. Because, I mean, really, that's our 2021 in review. Bad COVID arguments. By me. I'm the bad argument.
That's right, because, you get the flu and you never get the flu again. Because you've had the flu. You've had the flu and you're bulletproof, right?
I guess. That's what
I mean,
that's
there's
my
no way if you catch the flu, you'll ever catch the flu again, right?
I mean, I guess.
Yep.
So, yeah, we're not going down this rabbit hole. Next conversation. What do you got? What's new? What's exciting?
I thought I read a couple interesting stories. But...
Anything local?
There was that crazy story about the KPD assistant chief.
Yeah.
That's retiring.
Some misconduct, something or other. He's been on paid leave.
Multiple allegations. Been on paid leave for months.
And that was one of the complaints, is that he's still on paid leave, but the whatever hasn't been resolved yet. And usually they don't let paid leave run that long.
Yeah, I think they were doing an internal investigation.
Yeah, I didn't get deep into it, so I don't know much specifically about it other than some douchey cop doing douchey cop things and getting busted for it, and basically the standard tactic of, we'll put him over there for a while until everybody forgets about it, and then we'll just do whatever we do. But
I mean, they've sounded like they've been upfront and they haven't been trying to bury it.
Yeah,
I mean, in this day and age, it's hard to bury any of that kind of news.
Well, it's hard to not bury it since the attention span's so damn short.
Sure.
It's not bury it intentionally. It's that's something we're going to look into it. And by the time they go through the process of properly looking into it, everybody forgot what we were talking about.
All right. Oh, I'm okay with paid leave if it's while they're doing the investigation, and you're just fighting the allegations before you get reinstated.
I mean, I think
I'd say you got to reimburse that if you were on paid leave for them doing their investigation. They found that the investigation did come to fruition.
Or at least have a cap on it. Like, if there's enough to this investigation that it takes us more than 30 days, your paid leave expires. Because if there's enough to this investigation that we're going past 30 days, there's probably something here.
Right.
So we ought not continue to pay you. But then, I mean, also in turn, it should be a cap on it because that guy, if he didn't actually do anything and it's just one of those shit cases or whatever, shouldn't be on paid leave for 6 months. He needs to get back out there in the field and get to work. That's what we're paying him for. So
same thing. We've supposedly got laws or it's a constitutional right to, you have a right to trial or speedy trial, quote unquote. Yeah, we've kind of skirted that for some people.
Well, but it's not necessarily. I mean, depending on what the cop did, is whether it's a criminal or not. You don't get the fifth. What's that? The Fifth Amendment.
Fifth Amendment is self-incrimination.
Oh yeah, plead fifth. You're right. It's one of those. I think it's still inside the fifth is the speedy trial.
Eighth. I don't know.
Maybe. Anyway, whatever it is.
I keep meaning to get one of those little.
But it's only if it's criminal.
Pocket.
You know, like if it's a misconduct thing that's not a criminal case, whether or not you're keeping your job kind of case, I don't believe you don't have the same rights afforded to you as the defendant.
I think these were criminal.
This one specifically, yes.
Okay.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying for the broad spectrum of it, like, you know, you get in a shooting and it's a justified shooting or whatever, but you're still on paid leave for a period of time automatically.
Right.
You know, but you know. A more minor issue that puts you on paid leave that may not result in a criminal charge, you don't get the right. You don't have a right to a speedy trial if it's not a criminal charge at play. That was the only point I was getting to.
Okay. Touche, sir.
It wasn't a touche. I wasn't trying to one up you.
Okay. Now I was more making a reference to Guantanamo people that have been there for
ever
20 years without a trial.
Yeah.
It's like that's really fucked up.
Well, that was that Marine or whatever out of Texas that got dishonorably discharged for putting a video out about some of the Afghanistan departure shit.
I think I heard about that.
It was a weird little, it was one of those kind of more obscure stories. But, yeah, he got discharged and then arrested and just disappeared. Like, not fully disappeared, but, there's no record of any charges against him. There's no bail on record. There's none of that kind of stuff. He just got picked up and taken somewhere. And so I don't know. That's been months ago. So it's, again, going back to the beginning of what we were talking about, it's one of those, that story got talked about for a little bit in some circles for a little while. And then, Assange might be coming back.
Coming back to
Speaking
where?
of stories and what there's a high court judge in Britain or whatever has approved extradition.
Oh, to the U.S.?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, yes, that's not fair. Coming back, he's what, Australian?
Yeah, I think he's Australian.
Yeah. But
he was charged in Sweden
yeah,
and the U.S.
Right, but
separate charges.
The Swedish sexual misconduct or whatever,
yeah,
that one got dropped.
Did it?
That one's not active anymore. It's just the espionage charges by the U.S.
Gotcha.
That apparently Obama wanted to do but couldn't do because he realized that it would be an immediate indictment on major media as a whole because that's how journalists work. And then Trump, being the genius that he is, was like, fuck him. And so Trump's DOJ is who actually put the charges out, asked for the extradition. Britain was like, hold on a second. That was more Aussie, I apologize. But hold on a minute. I can't do it. Anyway.
Crikey.
And that's where we've been for the last little bit. And so there was hope there at the end of Trump's term that he might drop the charges and pardon him or whatever. He did not. And then there was hope that Biden might come in and be like, this Assange thing's a mess, so we need to put it to bed. And drop the charges and put it to bed. And he has not. And his Department of Justice is continuing to seek extradition on him. Which is weird. Which is another reason why I don't call myself a journalist, because
it's a sticky case.
Puts it in a weird spot. I don't know if it's a sticky case or not. I don't know it. I don't know it well enough to really, 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 really speak on it. But the DNC one was one of the big ones that got him in trouble. When he leaked the emails that the DNC was rigging parts of the primaries for her against Bernie in 2016. That was one of the big ones. And then there was some other ones that were either Afghani or Iraq related that they tried to make it sound like that he was giving intel out to the public that would theoretically put troops in harm's way because this base is there kind of thing, but apparently the timeline is not true from one of the podcasts I listened to was talking about. It's like, yeah, he released these papers and these emails and stuff, or not he, but WikiLeaks released them, that showed like different base inventories and stuff like that. But by the time they were released, and those bases were not like one of those bases was shut down. This thing moved over here. There's a bunch of stuff had changed between the release and stuff like that. And what the release was trying to show was like the waste and how many millions of dollars worth of equipment and shit like that were over there getting wasted. I think. I don't remember the specifics of it.
I mean, ever since 9/11, national security is a crazy thing that they emphasize more.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, okay. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that one report saying that, so much of this, they may have been trying to point out how much waste was there, but someone still could have read that and thought that it was current news and, try to plan an attack on a base that they thought there was a whole bunch of, like a whole stockpile of, munitions that were there.
Right. I don't know. It's weird. I just don't, I don't know. Because, again, my understanding of it, too, it's not that he went out and stole this information. It's not that he went out and bought it or hacked servers and stuff himself. It was whistleblowers, for lack of a better word, with different organizations brought stuff to him.
Right.
Like, that's the issue with the DNC one, is they're trying to say that he had coached and trained Chelsea Manning, I think, into going out and getting this information for him, where the reality of the case is she had gotten it and brought it to him and then got more and brought him more. And so they're saying, well, she brought you more than one round of stuff, so he obviously told her to go get you more. Even if he did, she's still the whistleblower. It shouldn't be... I mean, it's his job as a journalist, per se, to release that information, because it was brought to him. And he had...
But at the same time, as a journalist, you can't encourage an illegal act. Correct?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I know. I mean, I don't think that's a fact. I wouldn't. I mean, I would say that you could be held somewhere in the liability chain if you told somebody to go kill somebody and then wrote the story about how they killed somebody. But I don't know that. I don't know. That's a good question.
I would like to hope that's against journalistic standards. That you don't encourage someone to commit a criminal act.
Well, I mean, but I guess
further your...
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I do. I just like the only kind of thing that's popping in my head right now, though. It's like, well, what about like a Snowden style case where it's like the criminal act that Snowden did was leak information about the criminal acts that the CIA and FBI were committing.
Right.
So, I mean, Snowden committed a crime. He released classified information to the public. But did the New York Times commit a crime? I think it was New York Times that ran the original story on it. I don't remember who, but whoever because he had coordinated, he had planned it out real well, who he gave it to, the timing of when it started going out, and when the story started dropping, because he knew as soon as it happened, he needed to be on the move and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But hypothetically, because I can't remember who, but let's say the New York Times for the sake of conversation, are they liable for the crime that he committed because he was exposing a crime that the state was committing?
And that's where you got to prove that they solicited it versus he came to them with it.
But I mean, that's what journalism is. I mean, solicit's a weird word. I get what you're saying. I mean, that's what they do, though. I mean, they solicit that by existing. Now, specifically solicit and asking Snowden to bring it to them.
Right.
That's a little different than just we're the New York Times.
Going to a vice detective and they're like, hey, what are you guys working on?
I don't know. I'll think about that. Because that's got... I don't know. I think when it comes to state and state actors, it's got to pass a high standard to me, for it to be worth being like super classified. Like, I think transparency first. The idea of the amount of shit that falls under the national security umbrella, I think, is too strong already, and so people that are pushing back on that, I'm okay with. But I get what you're saying too. Like, I understand there's some definite gray area here to talk about. But I don't know. I mean, I think, like, get the comptroller in here. That might help. might explain some parts and pieces
I don't
to
think
us.
the comptroller has anything to do with national security.
No, but like he could at least, help us understand how that works on the state and local level. As far as, if
More like following the money as far as where funds are going.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, like, if somebody comes to me, because I'm sort of a journalist, but not really, if somebody comes to me with some intel about Merrick Jacobs spending money ridiculously, am I obligated to go to the comptroller and be like, hey, this is what was brought to my attention, or am I allowed to release that to the public? Is there any reason I'm not allowed to release that to the public? That kind of thing. I'm not saying it exists.
Right.
Just be clear. It hasn't happened.
You're saying you shouldn't, but I would think in that specific case, it is...
Because isn't the
behooving upon you?
But isn't
to actually...
But isn't
try to verify as much as you can before putting it out instead of just like
maybe
spreading a gossip.
Maybe, but isn't part of the point of the media is to hold the state to account when you may have a comptroller that is buddies with or that has some personal interest in not pursuing a certain thing? Isn't that the point of media though? Is to keep them honest or to try to keep them honest?
To an extent.
I mean, I've heard the argument that it's like the fourth branch. It's the it's the media is the fourth branch and keeping, and keeping the light on and making sure that they don't sneak around behind our backs and don't let us do stuff when we don't get to see it.
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, media is very broad.
Yeah. No, I mean, and especially today's media, it's a whole different fucking animal. But I don't know. I don't. At least in a very layman's term of it, I don't see the crime of Assange. I don't see the crime of Snowden. Snowden should be hailed as a fucking hero. And that should have happened, and then there should have been major sweeping changes. And that should have been an electability issue for subsequent office holders in all levels, especially the President, Senate, and House. It should have been an election issue.
Well, I'm pretty sure what Snowden put out were some things that had been in place for 10, 15 years.
Right, but it should have been, I'm electing you as my senator because you're going to go and make sure that the FBI stops doing these things. You're going to dismantle this thing that the FBI or the CIA or whatever it is exactly is happening. That it should have been an election issue. Like how it didn't become an election issue and it just continued to do, and the person who whistleblew on it is now hiding in Russia. That's what boggles my mind about it. And all the mountain of things that have gone on that... I don't know. Maybe that's the question. Are we okay with it? I guess we are because we keep voting for people that don't seem to want to do anything to change it.
I mean, national security is a very...
Are you okay?
Huh?
Are you good with the CIA or the FBI or whomever just taking access to any and all data on you that they want whenever they want to without a warrant? Because that's really the major part of what Snowden did. They have the ability of warrantless access to all your data. You specifically. It's not metadata like they tried to say it was. Because that was the initial thing, right? Is that the FBI, or again, I don't remember if it's FBI, CIA, whatever.
NSA.
NSA. Yeah, thank you. It was, no, we're just doing metadata stuff. It's nothing particular. I don't know you from you. It's broad data stuff. And Snowden, that's what Snowden released. It's like, no, this is specifically... If they want to look into you, anything that you're doing online, they can grab instantaneously without a warrant. And are databasing it. And when they want to go back and grab it, they can go grab it. Warrantless. And that was the problem that Snowden saw in it, and I agree with him. I'm not okay with that. I don't think it's cool. I don't have anything to hide. It's just none of your fucking business. And I'm allowed to say that. I should be allowed to say that. We should be okay with that premise. To me. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, I'm firm believer in the right to privacy.
Okay. Then why aren't we more outraged still? Because it continues. That's the thing that I'm confused about. Because I'm with you, and I'm the same way. Like, it's like, this bothers me. I'm not voting on it. I'm not making that an issue when I talk to a Blackburn or a Haggerty or a... I say that like I talk to him, but,
When I go have lunch with them next
when
week,
I talk about them, and when, I mean, it was past me anyway, but, when we talk about them and when we email or when, it's like, what's the issues? What are we talking about? What's important? What's important to you? Why am I voting for you instead of the other person? Well, where are you at on the Snowden deal? Nobody asks that question. Nobody talks about that. Are you cool with the state being all up in our business? I mean, you're Marshall Blackburn. You're a staunch Trumpy Republican. You don't want the state to do shit. So, are you okay with this NSA thing? Are you going to do something to fix it? No.
I mean, it's a weird teeter-totter of wanting to be safe and wanting to have the right to privacy.
I don't want to be safe. I'd rather have privacy. For the exchange. I want to be safe. Yes, absolutely. I want to live.
Right.
Absolutely. But it's not worth that to me. And that's a problem. What's that? It's a Jefferson quote, I think.
No.
It's the man who was willing to give up his freedom for or his privacy for security deserves neither and will get and won't get either, or something like that. Totally butchered that. That was a terrible version of that quote. But
I think I've heard
the premise is, if you're willing to give up your freedom for safety, you will get neither.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes sense to me, and so I'm on board with that idea. And so I push back on that. I don't like that we're okay with it, because we are. I mean, that's the reality. Is we are, like, of all the shit that we could be pitching a fit about, which there's some things that are important. I think some of the justice issues that we have in this country are big issues that need to be talked about and stuff like that. Some of the criminal justice system problem that we have at large. This continual pandemic thing at large, these are problems we need to work on, but this is one too. We need to get the state to come back to being servants to us instead of us servants to it. And one of those things is, just like a kid, you don't necessarily get to know, as my child, what goes on in mommy and daddy's room. It's our business. It's not yours. Same deal here. The state should be the child, not the parent. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
I don't know. Just working stuff out. Just throwing it out there. Being live.
So the constituents, as the parents, should be telling the state as the child what to do.
I mean, yeah, that's what I thought that was. I thought that was the idea. Is the state was a servant to us. They're to represent us and do things for us.
Do things for us?
On our behalf? I mean, what? Say sure, for us, yes. They make decisions for us on issues that we cannot be sufficiently told upon.
We tell our children what to do for us?
Sometimes. Wash the fucking dishes, bushels. Go to school. Brush your teeth. All sorts of little stuff. Basic stuff. Until they figure out how to do it on their own. But the state never grows up. Because you always get a new state every year or two. We get new people in the positions in the state.
We get new kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad analogy. I'll need to flesh it out a little bit better. I don't think it's a bad analogy at all.
I'm not seeing it.
You tell your kid to brush their teeth because it's good for them, right?
Yes.
Do they want to do it on their own? Do they internalize that immediately?
Do we tell a legislator, pass this bill because it's good for you?
I mean, that's kind of the idea, yeah. Because it's good. Well, because it's good for us, yeah. Because as a parent, you want your kids to have good teeth because it's good for everybody. All right. You're poking holes in my quick analogy. God damn, man. But yes, it's good for them too. Yes, actually, it should be good for them because that's how you get reelected. Because you're going out there and you're actually representing me well. Yeah.
That's how you get to stay my kid.
Yeah. Because then I don't have to. Because if you're a good kid, I don't have to keep teaching you the same thing over and over again. I get to let you go. Still pay attention. Still keep an eye on you. But it's like, hey, man, it's time for bed. And then they go brush their teeth without saying that part.
Nah, I'm not saying it.
All right, fine. Not a great analogy. Still, the point is they're supposed to be the servant of, not the masters over. That was the idea.
Yes. I agree. They should be public servants.
And it doesn't seem to work that way much at all anymore.
Right, because they pick other parents to choose to listen to.
Right, but who gets to pick their parents? Again, bad analogy. I'm just making fun of myself right now. But, and again, right, then that's part of the problem. I mean, that's absolutely part of the problem. That's part of the problem with this version of capitalism that we've become, is that the new parents, in my stupid analogy, are the ones with the most money. And that's who they listen to. Because somehow it works. That's the crazy part. To me, like, the idea, like, I don't care so much. I mean, I do and I don't. I just don't understand how money in the election process makes that much of a difference. Like, how can you paint... I mean, I guess I do. How do you paint Hillary Clinton as a good person? How do you try to sell that as a good person? And enough money and advertising apparently does it. How does Trump come across? I mean, Trump's not a good example because Trump came across as a fuck you to the entirety of the system. That's how Trump came across. But you take a candidate like Biden, for that matter. Biden against Trump was... I mean, I'm sure they raised a similar sum in their campaigning and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't remember numbers.
But, like, what was Biden's campaign? Like, what was it? What was the marketing message?
Build Back Better, I think, was his main thing, or was that at post-election?
That was post. That was his first. That was his major thing that he was going to do and is doing terribly at. But, you know, it was my take on it was, and it wasn't a quote, but it was like the return to normalcy. And really, it was I'm not that fucking psychopath orange orangutan dude. That was really the campaign.
Well, I mean, on the global scale, it was a semi-return to more normalcy. I mean, we were literally getting laughed at. Our president was getting laughed at by world leaders. I straight up made fun of him. People just didn't want to deal with him.
I mean, I could...
I mean, we were literally an embarrassment on the world stage by that orange ass hat.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I fail to... because we've talked about this before. I don't understand why that fucking matters.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Why does it matter? What happens because Merkel doesn't like Trump? We don't get as many Mercedes next year?
We literally lose respect on the world stage.
What does respect on the world stage mean?
Because that then leads down to then business dealings and other trade disputes where they're just like, fuck that guy. We're raising tariffs. I don't give a shit. He's an asshole.
Okay. Because it's good for them because Merkel can say
because we're a world-linked economy.
Right. And so Merkel can be can be super shallow and be like, Trump's a douche, we're not going to buy American products anymore. And that's because that's good for my people, right? Because I don't like Trump personally because he's a douche. So now anything coming from America is 25% more expensive.
No, but it bleeds down to the administration.
Again, I don't see the
people. These world leaders didn't focus just on Trump. It was Trump and those around him, his organization, not the actual Trump organization,
his cabinet.
His cabinet, his administration.
Okay,
that's the word I'm looking for.
So I don't know the specifics of it, but like, is there?
So when we have trade advisors that are sent over,
it's like, oh, you work for Trump, you're a douche canoe too. I don't want to deal with what you're giving me.
Basically, yes.
Okay, so what's the point of the trade council? I don't know. Maybe again, this is me showing my simple thought process, but. Okay, so if you're the ambassador to the U.S. from Germany and you're dealing with whatever in some trade conversation with somebody from Trump's cabinet, and Trump's a douche canoe and the guy that's sitting in front of you is a Trumpy douche canoe too, what's your job? Is your job to be a shallow fucking 14-year-old and be all pissy because this douche canoe sitting across from you works for that douche canoe that runs the country that you're in, or is your job to put in a trade deal that's the best for as good as you can for your people? As is the job of the douche canoe across from you? Or is it, we're cool with the idea that these people in serious positions of power can be as shallow as they want to be because this guy's an asshat?
Yeah. What was the question and all that?
It's okay. It is okay for some sort of, I don't know why I'm picking on Germany, but I'm not picking on Germany. Why I picked Germany, but it's okay for some German ambassador to come into a trade talk deal with somebody from Trump's White House and completely throw out the premise that he's there to talk trade deals for the betterment of his people and his government because the guy sitting across from him works for Trump, who's a douche. It's no longer about what I'm here actually to do because my job is to come here and sit down and work out a trade deal with you. But you're a fucking douchey child Trump guy.
Right. These are just trade advisors. Those aren't the final decision makers. Those two trade advisors from differing countries can be best of friends and come up with a great idea, but it's not going to matter.
So it's not his administration, it's him particularly.
It's the administration that bleats down to the people that, yes, they don't want to deal with.
So again, my question is would it be okay? Okay, let's say, what's the dude Boris in the UK? Is he still there?
I mean, it's not being shallow. How many countries want to deal with Putin? They deal with him because they have to.
Okay,
but everyone agrees that there's some fucked up shit going on there.
Yeah, you don't think the U.S. sits in the same stature of you have to deal with us on the world stage as much, if not more, than a Putin type?
It's becoming more and more less.
I mean, yeah, because everybody wants to go deal with China, but I still don't understand like real world implications, like real world me and you living here in Knoxville,
right.
Real world implications of Japanese foreign minister not liking Trump to me and you. Is there a track record that, is there a story that you can think of off the top of your head where the douchey Trump White House made my Toshiba more expensive?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is more, I guess, with like us and France and the tariffs, us and China with the tariffs, where it was just this constant retaliatory tariffs. It was one, I'm assuming, I guess just one world leader who just wanted to seem like they were a little bit tougher, so they just kept throwing on a tariff.
Okay.
And it just became this tit for tat.
Do we buy shit from France? Wine?
Yes.
Cheese?
Yes.
Yeah, but people that buy French wine, whatever, that's a joke. Sorry. Okay.
Other than that, they raised the tariffs on our, I think Jack Daniels was one of the specific ones, but some of our American whiskey.
Okay.
Which makes
it
less.
Jack Daniels because we can't sell as many of them.
Right.
And that's specifically because Trump was a douche canoe.
For doing the tit for tat tariff bullshit, yes. Trying to make it seem like, oh well, I'm gonna put China show China what's up, and I'm gonna put a tariff
major problems with China.
on steel.
I'm not giving Trump a pass in this conversation, but we have some major issues long term with China if we continue down the path we're on.
Right, but the way the tariffs were portrayed was not to benefit the U.S. public. It only hurt the U.S. business. It did not help us whatsoever.
I mean, okay. Anyway, I don't want to go into a Chinese argument right now.
No, I'm just going into an economic, right? Of just putting tariffs on anything. Who pays those tariffs?
Wait, are you going to say the end user pays the taxes? The consumer pays those taxes?
The cost runs down, yes. If a business is having to pay those taxes, yes.
But what happens? But if income tax goes up or a corporate tax goes into place, that those taxes don't get passed down to the end user, right?
Yes, they do.
I swear to God, you've said otherwise 1,000 times on this show.
Oh, have I? What have I said before?
Pretty sure.
What have I said?
That the conversation about raising corporate taxes won't raise prices of the products that they make. I'm pretty sure you said something of that sort. Because that is all my argument.
I'm not sure what would have been in my mind because I'm of the thinking that those board of directors are going to make sure they're still getting theirs. So if they've got to raise it a little bit because they're not making as much bonus as they have, they will.
I agree. I 100% agree because that's always been my argument is that like everybody bitches about Amazon pays $0 taxes annually. And it's like, well, yeah. Because if they don't, then we will when we buy shit off of Amazon.
So that makes it better?
I don't know. I mean, what's the value in adding that tax? Like, what are we trying to get? Just add a percent sales tax. Add a federal sales tax at 1%, and you're going to get more money that way. Because then Amazon won't bend over backwards to avoid it. And at the end of the day, me and you are going to pay it anyway.
What?
corporate taxes.
Yeah.
If you're going to put a corporate tax in place on a company like Amazon,
Okay.
like you just said, they're going to pass that downhill. And it may be a nickel or a dime more per thing we buy off of Amazon. It's not going to be huge because of how much shit Amazon sells, depending on what the tax rate is. But they're going to pass it down the hill. That's what we were just saying. It's like you put a corporate tax in place, it's going to fall on the end user.
So is the solution just to not tax them? We should just stop taxing businesses so that way they don't charge more for stuff that we buy.
If the goal in
don't pay your taxes, just sell your shit for cheap, make people happy.
I mean, sorta. If you're gonna raise the product, if you're gonna raise the end price of the product 1 or 2%, then just put a 1 or 2%.
You won't have to pay so much in income if you just don't make that much money.
Just put a 1 or 2% sales tax on the end user. And then you'll actually collect that tax as the government, as opposed to Amazon bending over backwards to not pay it.
Because Amazon would turn over that money as
they turn
taxes
over
taxes that are already due, but they don't want to do it now. So they would do it then if it was the consumers paying that 2% tax.
All right, so this is where I'm going to flex and say I actually know something about this particular thing.
Please go ahead.
Yes, it's a very simple process in the way sales tax works, in that it's not a simple process. It should be a simple process, but the process is that the business sells the thing, adds the sales tax to the price of the thing, and collects that money. And then they pay that money monthly. Amazon does that currently for every state they operate in, which at this point is every fucking state. So if you were to add a tax that functions the same as the tax that they already do collect, because they don't pay the tax. They're not paying the tax. They're just collecting that and then moving it to the state over a period of time. So the simple example, in the month of November...
Was that a law that... I think that didn't change in the past 5 or 10 years, right? I thought there was some big online tax law that was changed. Because there was a lot of online companies that were pretty much...
Right, they weren't paying because it was a question of whether you
collect
local sales tax.
We're based here and it was bought there.
Or the consumer, or where the end user is. And I don't know exactly how that breaks down. And for the most part, as I've seen it on Amazon, I pay Tennessee state sales tax. Yeah. Be a fun question for the comptroller. I bet you know the answer to that. Or she, pardon.
I want to say something that's changed in the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, because it was for a long time. There was no sales tax on it. Anyway, point being, that's already a process they're used to. And Amazon isn't paying that. Customers are paying that. Amazon's just collecting that and then handing it over to the state in a periodic fashion. So yes, they would absolutely do that. Where if you said 5%...
So you want the state governments to add an extra sales tax?
I don't know. I like the idea of having a federal internet tax.
Federal internet tax? No, not familiar.
That doesn't exist. I think I'm unique in this idea. And putting a federal internet tax at 15%, something obnoxiously high.
Anything you buy online?
Yeah, anything sold online. And would go to the state of the purchaser. You would have to collect sales tax for that. You'd have to collect sales tax for the state of the purchaser. So if you're in, at least when I lived in Wisconsin, I don't know if it's still the same, but when I lived in Wisconsin, it was 5% sales tax. Tennessee's 9.25% or whatever. Right. So if whatever company you are, if you're selling to Tennessee or Wisconsin or Georgia or whatever, you can either pay the sales tax of that state or you can pay 15% to the federal government. And some companies might opt for the 15% because it's easier than trying to keep up with all their different customers' tax bases, because then you have to set up accounts with each state and send all the money to each state individually. I think it would be a way to bring in... I don't know. I don't like it. It's a tax in general, but as an adjustment on how we're kind of functioning in this weird way to try to get brick and mortars and local income, try to keep more income local, more spending local, more money with the people that use it locally, as a way to encourage neighborly spending. That would be a method that I could get behind. I don't like it per se, but it's a way to, it's a means to an end, I guess. I haven't flushed it out deeply, but the premise being both the federal government and your own state government would prefer that you go buy a tomato from your neighbor than, maybe not tomato, that's not a good example, but
a bundle of tomatoes.
No, I'm just saying something that you go, it is better for you like this. So we've gotten this argument with Max on previous shows about buy local. Like, what does buy local mean? Right. And as much as nobody would consider buy local when you go to Walmart, But if I'm going to go buy razors, it's better for me and you as a Tennessean, Knoxvillian, Knox County resident or whatever. It's better for me to go to a Target or a Walmart and buy my razors than it is for me to order it from like a Harry's or even order it from Amazon or anything else. If in the buy local thought process, because Target has employees that put that shit on the shelf. Target has people that work the registers. Not that many because they're all going to fucking U-Scan bullshit or whatever. But that being the premise is that even if it's a big box store and a nationwide brand and the ownership's in Missouri or wherever the fuck Walmart is or Target's home office is and shit like that, even if the company as a whole is taking money out of your state to go to their corporate offices because their corporate offices aren't in your state, but at least if they have a physical store in your neighborhood, it's employing people, local sales tax, local distributors of the product are bringing it there. There's a lot of people that go into making sure that that's in your Walmart.
Local distributors are bringing the product?
Depends on what it is. I mean, what have you been to the Hackney warehouse?
Does Hackney service Walmart?
I don't know if they service Walmart or not.
I don't think so.
Okay. Fine. Bad example of using Walmart and a local distributor of fucking razors. Because you're right, it comes out of their central warehousing, whatever, in Missouri or wherever the fuck they're from. That's not true. They have warehouses all over the place. I'm pretty sure they have a warehouse. I'm sure they have a couple of warehouses in the state of Tennessee where they split and go to all their different local stores.
Yeah.
Doesn't change the point. The point is that even if it's a Walmart and you hate Walmart, at least if you're spending your $20 in that Walmart, there are a couple people that are making a few dollars working at the Walmart. There is a distribution network that are people that live in your state that get it there.
I think the idea behind buying local is supporting local businesses.
I agree.
Not a large corporation that happens to be in your locale.
I agree. I'm not advocating to pick Walmart as your choice, but
you're giving it as a lesser of two evils.
If the conversation is between Walmart, if the conversation is between Walmart and Amazon, on which one's not the lesser of two evils,
more local.
Which one is more local? It's Walmart. It is. It makes a difference. Even when the Walmart warehouse opens over here at Easttown, it's going to be better for you and your neighbors to buy it from a brick and mortar in your neighborhood.
Okay.
Don't know how I went on that tangent. Random.
Yeah, I don't know.
But no, I agree. Yes, 100%. But I mean, what's a local? Who makes razors around here? Where can I go buy a razor from a local company?
No idea.
I mean, to stick with the Hackney at least.
I know there's like local like knife and blade sharpening places. I don't know if there's razors that you can have just like resharpen.
I mean, I can go to Weigel's and buy one at least, because then Weigel's, who is a local company, gets the money, and then they buy a bunch of their shit from Hackney. Yeah. And Hackney is just out in Roane County or whatever. Point being, anyway, I don't know. That was just random tangent on that thing.
It was. On
corporate tax. I mean, it started with corporate tax bullshit. Because we were agreeing that it does pass all the way down the hill.
I'm trying to think of when I would have said that corporations would not
conversation, but
would not pass it down.
I feel like we've had a conversation in the past where you were on board with the idea of corporate taxation, and my pushback was, why? Because you're going to pay it at the end anyway.
I'm for actual corporate taxation, yes. But more often than not, they are not taxed.
Right. Which is, again, my response is, they're not because all that is a tax on the end user. That's all it's ever going to be, is a tax on the end user.
This isn't adding extra taxes. This is having corporations actually pay their fucking taxes.
Okay. I don't know what taxes they're currently supposed to be paying.
What taxes they're supposed to be paying?
Yeah.
I believe there's a multitude of business taxes that corporations are intended to pay. But many set up their offices in
New Hampshire or whatever. That's a big one. Delaware is a big one, because Delaware doesn't have much tax stuff.
A non-tax state. I mean, just having their shit in foreign companies or in foreign nations.
That is a weird one. But I mean, again, I don't know. Fine. Okay. Anyway, moving on. New topic, because I'm going to go back down this one.
All right. Fuck economics. Doesn't matter, major corporations that are, screwing the federal government that's spending a lot of money.
I mean, again, it's still the same.
Where's the money
though.
going? Like, why are we always at a deficit? It's like, well,
I don't know. We spend trillions of dollars a year on a military that doesn't need to be existing, but whatever.
I agree.
I mean, that's my, like, okay, so in general for me, when we have these conversations, big conversations, a lot of people have these conversations.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this is one that everybody looks at the wrong side of. I think the conversation of, why doesn't a person pay more taxes, or why aren't we paying more taxes, or why aren't companies paying their correct taxes and shit like that, which, I agree. Like, if the rule's in place and I got to pay it, then you should have to pay it too. I agree with that part of it. But I think that's one of the conversations that there's more focus on collecting more instead of what we're spending.
The Carneys and the Rockefellers 100 years ago, those companies were paying a shit ton of taxes. And then all of a sudden it changed in like the 60s or 70s.
I don't know. I don't know that story. I'd be curious to know more about it. But again, my point being is that I think this is one of those conversations that we spend more time talking about why aren't we collecting more than why are we spending so much, especially for what we're getting for it. And I think there's value in both sides of the conversation, but I think that this conversation specifically almost always stays on the we need more money instead of we need to really look at how we're spending money. Because I think that there's more room for correction on the spending money side. Because I think one of the things that will automatically happen and does automatically happen, because most new taxes that come with they're earmarked for X.
Right.
Well, if we add a tax and it's earmarked for X, then we're still spending this money over here, which we can't afford to spend either. So unless you're going to earmark it to pay off debt, which they're not going to do because that's no fun, we need to have a conversation about how we're spending money, I think is a bigger issue. Personally. What else did I have? I had something else that I've seen that was fun. I got some Susan chili. It's ready for tomorrow. I'm excited about our Christmas party tomorrow.
Yeah, somebody had mentioned that you're bringing some chili.
Some Susan chili. Everybody thinks it's weird that I named my dear Susan.
I was wondering where the hell that even came from.
I don't know. I was just like, it was. I threw it out there as a joke around the campfire that night, and at this point, it's stuck. So I was gonna name, if I'm going tomorrow morning. AC might come with me. We'll see. So if he comes tomorrow morning, or if I pull a buck, I'm debating on whether it's going to be Steve or if it's going to be Sean, which I think has a separate weirdness to it. All right. Potty break. All right. We are freshly relieved. Trying to think of other things that are happening. I don't know. I mean, I teased like year in review stuff, but I mean, like, we've had a bunch of, like, the men's basketball game got canceled from COVID stuff. There was a bunch of hockey stuff we were talking about in pregame.
The UT game? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I heard it. That was on the Memphis side.
Yeah. A bunch of NFL. There's a couple NFL games that got moved from Sunday to Monday or Tuesday night.
Saw they mentioned the Browns and someone else.
Yeah, Raiders.
They moved the game.
Ooh, Urban Meyer got fired.
Mayfield. Yeah, Urban Meyer got fired.
That was an interesting one. I didn't even know this. I don't know what the fucking scandal is. Like, I have no idea, other than he's not a good pro coach. I hadn't heard anything about what, like, because apparently there's some scandal that's with it.
I heard something mentioned about him kicking one of the players or kicking somebody.
Yeah.
But there was also, like, I guess he was out at a bar and got really drunk. And
I did see.
Was being stupid at a bar. I don't know if that was like with players at like a player outing, or if that was just him out on the town.
Oh yeah, because there was something about I do remember a little bit about it. There's something about his wife. Something about like there was some event or something that was supposed to go on, and he kind of laid out sick, and then got caught on some girl's Instagram or some shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was part of it, being like drunk and stupid. But there was something about he was.
I assumed he got drunk and handsy or something.
No, there was something. Part of it that I remember of it was that there was something about him being it was supposed to be doing something else, with his wife, and whether he was lying to his wife or not.
He was out
I
at
don't remember.
strip club.
Yeah. I don't know.
He's gone. One of the Winnipeg Jets coach just randomly stepped down, I think, a night or two ago.
Yeah, I heard about that too. I don't know. I mean, again, this is one of those conversations that's less fun to have with you just because it's college football, but I really think they need to figure out some way to fix this coaching issue. At least put some sort of rule in place or some extra bonus giant penalty.
Is it revolving coaches or?
No, just like, at least be like, look, the coach hire date starts January 5th or 6th or whatever it is, the day after the national championship. Or at least some rule in place that your team's season has to be over. Not the regular season, but if you're bowl eligible as a coach, you are obligated to stick with the team. Like something like that. Like you cannot leave your team, which is very unlibertarian of me. Huh?
Have coaches done that?
Yeah, all the fucking time. Like right now, I would say that in especially top tier programs, like this is one of the geniuses of Nick Saban is that he has somehow managed in national championship run after national championship run to do it without coaches. I mean, I want to say, who was it? I think not Heupel, that's our current coach. What was the coach we stole from Alabama prior to Josh Heupel? Kiffin did it, but that wasn't for us.
Yeah, Kiffin was with
Kiffin was his offensive coordinator, and he left there for somebody before he came to us.
Fitz Jones, and then
he was the defensive coordinator. Our previous head coach from our current one was the defensive coordinator for Alabama. He left, but at the end of the regular
Jeremy Pruitt.
Pruitt, yeah, he left after the SEC championship game and came to Tennessee. And then Alabama went on to play the national championship playoffs and game without him. And it happens all the time. Like Brian Kelly, one of the current fun ones to talk about is Brian Kelly was the coach at Notre Dame, left Notre Dame because he didn't want the constraints of Notre Dame's high academic standards on his players. And so he left to go to LSU. And Notre Dame's got a bowl game on New Year's Day. And they're going to do it with some new coach, and whether it's an assistant coach they already had or something like that. And Brian Kelly did that to when he left Cincinnati to go to Notre Dame years ago.
Do you think doing this is hurting programs?
I don't know. I don't know if it hurts programs. It hurts the kids, I guess. I don't know. I just think it's a weirdism, and I think pro ball needs to do something about it too, because that's one of the arguments. Because there's the defensive coordinator, one of the coordinators for the Chiefs. He's one of the best black coaches in the NFL or whatever, and everybody's like, he should be a head coach, he should be a head coach, he should be a head coach. But nobody talks to him because they're in the playoffs. And the NFL's coaching carousel starts after the end of the regular season. And so teams are out hiring their coaches, but they're not shopping their coaches from teams that are in the playoffs, or they might be, but not very hard because that coach is still finishing his season.
Right.
And so it puts a good coach that's a coordinator for a Super Bowl caliber team or a national championship caliber team. It doesn't seem to work the same between the two leagues. But in pro ball, it puts a coach that's got a Super Bowl run in them at a disadvantage of getting a head coaching job somewhere else because they're an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator for a Super Bowl running team. They may get talked to, but the NFL is at least better about not doing that. They wait until the season's over, but the positions may be filled by the time the Super Bowl comes around. And so there are coaches that are missing out that could have been a head coach somewhere else, but they're missing out because they were on a Super Bowl run. And it's like, just, you can't hire a head coach. Like, figure out some way to gap it so that let the full season end, playoffs and all end, before you can hire a coach or before you can fire a coach, or that coach is under contract with that other team and has to finish. I just think it's a weirdism.
I mean, you'll always have things done behind the scenes. I mean,
I agree, but they can at least do their job.
College teams are notorious for, I mean, we're under investigation right now for illegal recruiting. Yeah. Everyone knows that it's been a staple for decades. That's not what you do. That's not how you find players, and yet
it's absolutely how you find players. It's absolutely what you do. But I get what you're saying. My point is that you could still have the conversations, and those things can still happen behind the scenes, but you still finish the job.
All right. I mean, I don't know. I would think if I was hunting for coaches or coordinators or whatever, I would be looking at those teams that are.
I agree, but you're stuck in this position where
you just help the team get to the playoffs. Blah
right.
blah
blah. But as a GM, when you're trying to go out and hire that coach, you're stuck in this position where if I wait for pro ball, at least if I wait till this guy finishes his playoff run to offer him a job, the candidate 2 or 3 that I have might be off the deck. You know, those two might be hired.
Have them sign like a promise. Not a promissory note, but assuming they could sign an agreement while they are still a coach. I don't know. I mean, I don't think they would coach any less, but
it doesn't seem to function out that way.
I'm going to move on. Like I'm still here for you guys till the end of the season. I'm not gonna coach you any less.
It doesn't seem like it functions that way because again, I can't pull his name out with Kansas City, who's been talked about a lot as has the potential to be a great head coach, but can't get the job because he's always in the playoffs. Because another team that's out trying to hire a head coach can't wait to make him an offer until the playoffs are over, and they need the position filled. So they're like, I got it. We'd like to make an offer on him, but if we do and he says no, these other guys that we're talking to that are available might not be available anymore. Then what do we do? And so if there's some sort of rule in place which puts it all in the same window, it takes that off the table. And it should get them paid better, to be honest. Whether that's a good thing or not. Speaking of paid better, Kellogg's is firing everybody. Did you hear about that story?
No. The whole strike that was going on?
Yeah. They just said apparently they put an offer up. The union didn't like it.
Yeah, I think it was like a 3% raise, and the union said no.
Union said no, like overwhelmingly no. Like I think they put it to the union members, so all the striking employees, and they said "fuck you." And so Kellogg's is like, "Well, fuck you too." And so Kellogg's is hiring all new people. And so it's interesting. Like that's sort of an interesting thing to follow. Crystal and Saga are big on.
They picked a good time to do it.
They picked a terrible time to do it. Who picked the right time?
The company.
To fire everybody?
To start hiring all new people.
How?
Oh, wait, no, I'm thinking of it backwards, sorry.
Right, the other way, right. The unions got, like, unions, if the union already exists, it's a strong time to be in a union. Because I
mean, there's still a good pool of people to bring into jobs.
I mean, I think that's the better conversation maybe to have, because I don't see it. I mean, yeah, restaurants, servers, like that kind of stuff. Yeah, I see it. We went into me and the oldest one went to pick up Susan, and then we went out and spent a night ran into Daryl, and then came back and we stopped at McDonald's on the way back. And I was embarrassed to have ever worked at a McDonald's with that McDonald's that we went into.
Really?
Yeah. There were one person in the lobby.
That one there in town?
It's the one right there off the exit.
Okay, never mind.
One person in the lobby.
Yeah, that damn kiosk where you have to like place the order yourself.
Nobody took the order I had to. Like, there was no option. There was no conversation. I had cash. I was planning on paying cash. Not an option. Go through the whole thing. Fries were terrible. Food wasn't good. Took for fuck ever. All sorts of bullshit. Like they put us in like the cafe cups. They didn't have normal cups for some reason. Like it was the worst overall McDonald's experience I've ever had. And I was embarrassed. We worked at McDonald's together when we were kids, and I was embarrassed to have ever worked at McDonald's in my life for the experience I had there. Like, here's your stuff. Can I get some ketchup? Huh? Can we get some ketchup, please? Yeah. You know, and it's all masked up and all this kind of fucking protocol bullshit, and it's just big gropey handful of ketchup packets and throws them on top of my food in the bag. And every single table in the place was dirty. Every single table in the restaurant was dirty. And it's like, I get it. Not a lot of people are coming in. You're not putting a lot of effort into it, but this is the way you do this thing now. And it's just like, anyway, that whole story to say that, yes, I see in fast food specifically, but in restaurants as a whole, I can see the labor shortage there. But I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's one of those things I'm struggling to understand, this labor shortage conversation. Because I think the better argument is you're not paying enough. I don't want to work for you. It's a wage shortage, not a employee shortage. There's people
Right.
that would be happy to work, but they're just.
Is everybody just turning to crypto mining?
Maybe, I don't know. Like that's the question too. It's like, how the fuck are people getting through all this, everything that's going on right now without working at all? But I mean, I think that's the market. That's what it should be. Like, and we should figure that out.
It's also a large black market in many things.
What?
Huh?
I mean, I agree that black markets are everywhere, but so everybody's dealing drugs now because they don't want to work at McDonald's anymore? I don't understand what you're saying.
No, I mean, there's this weird black market for everything. I mean, from knockoff designer purses and I can't remember what it was. They were talking about weird black market things, and breast milk is one thing.
Formula or breast milk? Like real breast milk?
Yeah, actual breast milk.
Gangsta. I like it. I mean, that's a problem. I mean, like that's the reality.
I mean, you get on. I don't even know how to get on the dark web or whatever. I mean, there's just all sorts of weird, crazy shit you can find on the dark web.
Okay, so so this ties back into our pre-pee break conversation too. And when taxes and regulations start getting in the way of economics,
yeah,
and the black markets pop up as a result. Taxes do the same thing. Labor issues do the same thing. It comes down to the brass tacks of it. You know, I guess that to me, that's the bigger conversation that I think we as a public, as a community, need to have. Is what the work is worth, because that's one of the weird spots that I don't think people think about. Like, what is the work actually worth? What does it take to do? Is there a special skill? Can anybody do it? Because it changes the math, and I don't think we're okay with doing that. Like, that's the thing with my day job that drives me crazy about it, is because I've done the math 1,000 times in my head, and it's like, this is a stupid job. Anybody can do this job. I don't get paid very well at this job, but the math makes sense to me, and I'm okay with it. And I don't know, that honestly, the math doesn't make sense to me if I really think about it, because if I didn't have the shop, I couldn't afford the Mrs. Broken Leg. Like, I was doing the math on it the other day. It's like, you know, we paid the maximum whatever that we could pay on our insurance or whatever. So between my insurance premiums,
they paid out the max, or you met your deductible or whatever.
I'm at her individual deductible has been met, and so between her individual deductible, our family deductible,
this had to happen at the end of the year, didn't it?
And our premiums
early in the year,
right? And our premiums, I paid almost a quarter of my salary with that company into insurance or into medical stuff,
right?
You know, and on a good budget.
I mean, that's one of the biggest causes of people going into bankruptcy is medical debt.
Right. And on a good budget, 20% of your income, 25% of your income is housing. 25% of your income is other livables. This is not Gordon Ramsay, Dave Ramsey, his math thing. I forgot it. I used to know it by heart. It was like 10% savings, this, that, and the other, and I was doing the math on it. It's like, if I was just working for the day job, I'm fucked. Just flat fucked. There's no way I'd survive that job. And again, it's not a difficult job. It's not a bright, ingenious job. It doesn't take a lot of brain power or anything like that. And so maybe it's just me justifying the conversation. I'm okay with the way it breaks down, because it works. It works for what I need it to do. Because I don't spend a ton of time at the job. I can focus on other things. I can take care of the family. I can do what I need to do that I do at the shop and that kind of stuff. And so I can spread around myself in a way that I'm okay with. And that's why I'm okay with the job. Because my boss calls me. He's like, "Oh, we might be shifting around what we're doing." It's like, I might not be on board with that. And it's like, you know, it's a fun place. I appreciate that I'm in a place where I can say something like that and be like, well, if it doesn't work for me, then I'm not going to work for you. And he hates that because he likes me being dependent on him, right. Which is a shitty manager. That's a shitty manager. I like him. He's a good dude, but that is a shitty manager mentality that somebody taught him who needs to be talked to about how they teach people to manage.
I don't want to say it's an industry standard, but I mean, it's a common plus in industry.
Oh yeah, it's been a. I mean, it's been reinforced through decades of other economic things that make it a standard function. It's normal. It's normal that like it's a big fucking deal if you quit your job. It's a big deal for you if you quit your job. You can't just quit your job.
Right.
You know, what are you going to do? Where's your insurance come from? Which is I mean, to me, that's on the grand scheme of economics and people and us moving forward as human beings, the insurance conversation, the health insurance conversation,
that's why most
cost of medicine,
right?
Those two, like health insurance, healthcare, all that stuff, whatever big ball of bullshit that you want to pack that together as, to me, that is the number one issue at play, and it should not be connected to your work. Like, the libertarian in me, as much as I don't like to say the phrase there should be a law, it should be illegal for your employer to pay for insurance for you. They should just pay you a fucking salary. And because, yeah, it should just be, you know, because I pay X in and they match and all that kind of bullshit. All these fucking games that we play on the semi-tax portion bullshit as employer-employee relations that involve healthcare. All that does is make shit more expensive. On top of a thing that already makes itself more expensive. On top of the insurance that fucks it up too. It's a big fucking mess. And adding the employers into the mix makes it doubly bad. Because now there's a dependency on the job to keep that insurance. Because even if you have a job lined up, it's a big fucking mess to switch jobs for insurance. And then you have to go through the whole process of new insurance. And you're a new employee and all the stuff. But you do have insurance. But all your yearly max pays start over if you don't happen to start your new job at the beginning of the year.
Right.
Like, it's a big fucking bullshit mess. It should be against the law for an employer to have anything to do with your health insurance. Now, that goes into, should it be a state thing or should it be an individual thing? You know where I'm going to stand on that part of it, but it should not be attached to your job. That's such a bad deal for you and me, the employer, or employee, and even the employer.
I mean, I assume that's more of, I mean, the way our insurance industry is set up, but I'd say that was more on insurance agents and whatnot. Essentially, I mean, where do you find customers? You would go to a business that has...
No, it's law stuff, though. It's the legals. It's the legals now. I agree with you. Historically, sure.
I'm saying, yeah, and how that kind of process started. So these insurance agencies, you know, how do I find, you know, a bunch of new customers? Like, well, I'm going to go to businesses.
And I don't know the history.
If I can get that one business to sign on to this, I get their 500 employees.
Right, and historically speaking, at least the theory historically was
you got a bigger group, you keep costs down.
That it was a benefit of employment.
Right.
It wasn't, you know, because, again, like, that's one of those things that we throw around because it's phrases we're used to. It's not a benefit of employment to get insurance anymore. It's just part of the job. I mean, there is a small sector out there that doesn't have insurance for their employees or doesn't provide the option of insurance to their employees.
Right.
But for the most part, it is obligated to that business to offer insurance to their employees. So it's no longer a benefit of the job because it used to be, sure, that agent walks into some office and says, hey, big business owner, here's the deal. You get me all 5,000 of your employees or whatever, and I'll cut you this sweet rate. And all your employees will get it, and the big business, the CEO or whatever, they're looking at it and going like, okay, I can see how that would benefit me as the owner of this business to attract better employees to me. But that part of the conversation's out of the window now. That doesn't exist anymore.
Well, it's necessarily like keeping better employees there.
Or keeping good employees alive and there.
Right.
Both things. Either way, it's the same thing. It's the idea
is that has insurance, they can work better for you.
Hey, you're a fucking kick-ass salesman. I sell vacuums, and I need kick-ass salesmen. How about $50,000 a year? Oh, that's okay. There's another company that sells things that wants me to come work for them. Sells, you know, they said $50,000. Well, how about $50,000 a year, and I take care of your health insurance? It's a negotiating piece. That is what benefits are. Retirement plans, you know, paid leave, all these different things that are benefits. They're not benefits anymore. That's not how we look at them as employees. That's not how employers look at them anymore. They look at them as obligations to the game. This is the game we play, and so it's not a benefit. It doesn't help you as an employee. It doesn't attract you as an employee to me any more than it did whatever. It's like, just pay me what the job's fucking worth, and let's figure it out a different way, because it's not the same animal anymore. I agree, historically that's how it started, for sure. Maybe theoretically, maybe there's just good employers that actually cared about their employees.
I mean, that's just a guess of.
I mean, I can't think of why that word benefit would be applied if it wasn't that. It's a benefit of working here. Like, I work at the grocery store. It's a benefit to get 10% off.
It's called a benefit because before that it wasn't a norm.
Right.
And like you said, there are still areas out there, industries out there that it's not a norm in it. Where it is more, it's like, we're paying you. We're not doing your health insurance.
Right, because,
we're not doing 401k. We're not doing paid time off.
Right,
whatever.
but I think, to me, it goes back to that root conversation, is that I don't think employees think about it. I don't think employees look at it. I think employees expect it. Depending on the industry,
it's become more of an expectation because it's become more common in most employment.
But I think because it's become so common and norm, it's gotten worse. And so it's not a benefit anymore. It's just kind of there. It's a shitty version of it that they throw out because everybody has some shitty version of it.
Yeah,
like, I think
I agree. Yeah.
The only part where it really exists as a benefit is when you get in a higher echelon of a company, or higher echelon companies that throw really good insurance at you and cover it 100% instead of 50% or whatever.
All right.
Like, that's where it gets into being a real benefit conversation, is how much of your premiums does the company pay for you.
All right. You get in there, it's like, oh, well, you're eligible to sign up for insurance. We offer you an eligibility to sign up for insurance, or we offer you an eligibility if you work so many days, you can accrue so much sick time, or you can accrue so much paid time off.
Right. Which again goes back to me. It's like, just pay me for the fucking job I do, like a real number. Because, I mean, I think that here's the problem to me is, so again, I'm in a weird, unique situation. I own a business and I'm an employee of a separate business. We offer insurance to our employees as an owner. As an owner, I can get in on insurance with the insurance that I provide to my employees, or I can go as an employee of the other company and get my insurance. If I go to my day job and say, look, I want to get off of insurance with you guys, I have an option somewhere else. Pay me the difference. Are they going to say yes to that?
No.
It's now a better chip for the employer than it is for the employee. Because now they can underpay me because I have other options. Not to mention I am obligated to tell them I have other options. And there is a premium that I have to pay as an employee if I have a second option.
Do what?
I'm required, like, the missus doesn't work currently. But if the missus took a job tomorrow that offered insurance, I am required to tell them that for the current insurance I have through my employer.
Why is that?
Because they can skirt around the obligation of offering me insurance if I have it somewhere else. And so if she has option of insurance for her company and I want to keep her on my insurance, I have to pay an extra amount to keep her on my insurance, even though because she has an option somewhere else. Like, I'm obligated to tell that.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, again, who is this benefiting? What's the point? The point of obligating employers to provide insurance as an option was supposed to be as a benefit to the employee. It's not anymore. It's now become this show game of who can I push it off on in order to take care of my bottom line. Because they know most households, both partners work, and if the other employee has the option, but you like ours better, then you're going to pay extra for it. It's like, literally, like, it's cheaper. It is technically cheaper for me. Well, I mean, end of the day, it'd probably come out as a bonus. You'd make more money than whatever. But at the end of the day, at least for my end as the employee for the company, it is cheaper for me to have her not work and have insurance coverage than to have her work, because I might end up paying more for insurance, or I might drop her from our insurance so she takes it from her new employer, and then I have to go through the whole process of keeping up with now multiple insurances for everything that goes on. plus the kids part of it too. And then that goes in a whole other thing of, do I want to keep the kids on it? Because their kids are an option on hers as well. And there's a whole big fucking mess of me keeping track of all sorts of bullshit.
All right.
Where if it wasn't under the employer, I would just have an insurance person. Doesn't matter who I work for. Doesn't matter if I work, she works, everybody works. Doesn't matter. That's her insurance. Doesn't change because she has a job or doesn't.
Yeah.
That's, I think, again, going back to the root part of this conversation, I think it is a problem that insurance is attached to work. I think it is a bonus for the employer, not the employee. And at the point of making it a big thing, that was Obamacare at heart, at least, was to help me and you out as the workers. That's not what it's doing, in my opinion.
Obamacare was more aimed at the uninsured. Was getting the uninsured insured. Giving them an option outside of...
Right, but it was like some of it was
if
expanding...
your employer doesn't offer it.
But some of it was expanding the rules on what employers have to offer it, and parts of like that was part of it for sure. It changed the number of employees that your company needed to have. Like, because right now you have to have a certain number of employees to have to obligate it,
right,
to be obligated to offer insurance versus whatever. The Obamacare lowered that number, put more stress on companies that had that number.
All right.
But anyway, that's beside the point. I didn't mean to bring up Obamacare. I know that's a big fucking issue for certain people.
Affordable Care Act.
Obamacare.
Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, it's called Obamacare. Give him credit. It was a good deal. The idea was decent. It just got picked apart in the process.
The initial was great.
Right.
And then it got whittled down to being really shitty, and that's what everybody bitches about is how shitty it is.
Well, I mean, that's the game,
it got
though.
Whittled down to shit because that was the only way to get it passed.
But I mean, that's the game, right? That's that when you put it out there, it's going to get poked at, and you either have to do such a good job selling it to get it through wholesale 100% what you want, or you have to deal with the pokes and prods.
Yeah, and there's a negotiation process, yes.
So,
but there's at some point where you have to say, no, this is not what I was originally trying to actually get past.
And then you kill it, and you say, look, there's a line somewhere in this where this is no longer the thing that I want to put my name on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they took a lesser of two evil. He didn't put his fucking name on it. Like, it just got labeled as Obamacare. Don't say he put his name on it.
It was his thing as the president. It's his thing.
All right.
I mean, it just is. Just like the Build Back Better, whatever the fuck it is the Biden infrastructure deal.
You should call Medicare Linden Care. And
I mean, it will be credited to their record.
Well, a lot of people forget that he was the one that passed it.
I mean, I didn't know that, so you're right.
Lyndon B. Johnson. So Johnson Care.
Right.
I don't know what his first name.
Is there another Lyndon president? But there is another Johnson president. That's my point.
Yeah. True that.
Wow. Anyway, I talked to Al from the other podcast.
Which other podcast?
The Angry Atheist one we were talking about last week.
Yeah.
So apparently, I guess I started following him on Facebook. I don't remember that I did that, but when I was doing my tags on my Facebook, when I posted the video, or when I posted the last episode, I just start tagging a bunch of different people if I remember talking about them or whatever. And Apostate, what is it? Apostate on the Fringe, I think it's the name of the show. I hit at A, and I can't remember who I was trying to reference, but theirs popped up. It's like, sure, I'll tag them. And so Al messaged me on Facebook and was like, figured I was going to get grilled more from a libertarian. I was like, well, don't know what a libertarian is, so it's okay.
Have you already talked to him?
Just her, or him, or it. I apologize. I'm not trying to misgender here. She's non-binary. Fuck. I suck at this game. Anyway, we had talked last week about it, and it had popped up when I was tagging stuff, and so I tagged. And that person has listened to part of it, and was like, I can pull it up, I guess, instead of talking about it in this weird abstraction.
Yeah, you mentioned him a couple times.
Heard. Okay, so this is Al from Apostates. Heard where you gave us a shout out. Thanks for the not too bad review. I was expecting much worse. We're working on setting it up in callers. We'd love to have you on. And I said, don't change what you do for me, but I'd be happy to stop in. And then I pitched the idea of doing a simulcast where we get them in and we all get together and we do a big show together and we each put it on our own channels and make a big thing about it. Which they're totally down with.
Awesome.
Which will be fun. But
I'll have to check them out sometime.
I can't. It's so hard. It's one
Hey,
of those,
you said you listened to some.
I mean, I try to. I've listened to the most recent, and I'm trying to keep up to date with them.
I'll give them a chance and listen to a little bit.
They're hard to fucking listen to. They really are.
Really?
They're not bad. I agree with them on a lot of problems. But I just don't I don't get. I like. This is one of those where I don't understand the point of view so hard. Like I so can't empathize with the point of view that I'm struggling with it, and like that's why I like to listen to it, because I'm trying to get a better understanding of other points of view, because I think that's important. But at the same time, it's just like I yell, I yell at the fucking I yell at my phone when they're playing. It's like, no, it's wrong, it's so wrong, because like they're anti-capitalist. But there's every single episode starts out that, what you drinking tonight? Like literally, we start the show, finish the intro, and I say, hey Sam, how's it going? You say, oh man, what's new? Like that's how that's just how we've started the show. Theirs is, what are you drinking tonight? And they go around and it's all craft beer stuff, and it's cool beers, whatever. I have no issues with the beers they're drinking.
It's a little shtick.
It's a little shtick, that's fine. But you're going to go and rant about the problems of capitalism while you guys are enjoying the fruits of capitalism. Wiseacre Brewery does not exist in a country that is a communist country that you're advocating for. A lot of these things don't exist in places. Like they've literally advocated communism on the show, and it's like, that's fine. It's your point of view. Good with it. I'm going to listen. I'm going to try to understand. I'm going to do the best I can. But you're literally playing the joys of what this economy that you hate so much is making, while complaining about it. And that's what that's just how my brain works on this show. It's like, come on, do you not hear yourself right now? Like, I am enjoying this wonderful Monday night beer from Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta's a bunch of shitbags full of shitholes, and they all should fucking die. Like, that's what the show, like, that's a very, very, very super oversimplified version of the show, but that's what parts of the show feel like to me. And it's like, no, come on. Like, yes, it's crony capitalism that's the problem. It's the government selling out to big business instead of taking care of their constituents like they're supposed to. Yes, absolutely. 100% on board with that. But it's not capitalism that sucks. It's the U.S. version of capitalism that sucks. Communism is not the better solution. Like that's my whole thing with the show. Like I agree with some of the problems. Cops have problems. We have big problems with police. We have big problems with criminal justice. We have big problems with X, Y, and Z. But it's a left view. That's what they are. That their intro is atheist, leftist, whatever. And it's like, well, what is and this is my ignorance in general. It's like, what is the difference in a leftist and a liberal? What's the difference in a conservative and a right-leaning person? Like, I don't understand some of these, where these terms actually fit for people. They don't understand what libertarian is, obviously.
It means different things in everybody's mind.
Right. And that's what I'm excited to sit down and have a show with them and talk to them about. Because that's one of the things to me is, like, I'm really confused at. It's like, because they're right. One of the more recent episodes, they were talking about, like, the left is not here to, or the liberals aren't here to save you. Like, all the problems that they talk about on the show, all the problems that we talk about on this show, the liberal elite in Washington, as you want to say it, or not as you want to say it, but as people say it, they're not here to fix any of the real problems that we're talking about. Just like the right's not going to fix any problems in their version of what the problems are that they're talking about. That's not what they do. That's not the thing that exists. Which again,
it's a mouthpiece game on both sides.
Right, but again, that's the problem I have. It's like yes, I agree 100% with that. It's yes, they're not here to save us. They're not going to save us. So how the fuck is your argument that a bigger government is going to be the one to do it? Not you. That's the thing that I'm screaming at my phone when I'm listening to their podcast.
Gotcha.
And it's like, come on, guys, hey, listen to yourselves. Like not me. Listen to yourselves while you're talking. People suck. giving people power is the worst idea possible. But you want more people with more power because that's how we're going to fix this. Like, I agree with you with the problems, but I don't agree with the method of solution. You're not going to force...
Maybe they're feeding into your parent-child scenario.
Maybe. They want more children, less parents. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm really have to flesh that one out. I can work on it.
Got a lot of parents telling less children what to do.
I mean, anyway. But I mean, I like listening to it, but I think it's important. I think it's got value. As much as I 100% disagree with them with a ton of stuff, I think it's important. I mean, they're here. They're our neighbors.
I mean, it's beneficial
real people.
to bounce off different ideas because it gives you a different perspective.
Right.
And it gives you ideas that you wouldn't have thought of. You're like, hey, I thought you were crazy, but actually, that's not completely a bad idea.
I mean, it might be completely bad. But no, exactly. No, you're right.
I mean,
you can't,
just as a generic example for any situation.
Right. And
not necessarily pointing directly at them.
Right. I can adjust my view on an issue from information that I didn't know that you're going to have because you have a different view. You have a different natural view than I do. And I guess I don't know, to tout on ourselves when we have a good full cast show, that's what I like about our show is that we all have different points of view on this show. They all have the same. And that's one of the things that's like, it's like, yeah, fuck that. And it's like, no, come on, guys. Like, their only disagreement is how much we need to fuck this thing or how much that guy's bad or how terrible X, Y, or Z is. It's like, no, come on. I want to hear you guys disagree about something. And actually argue about something instead of just being like, yeah. But anyway, like I said, they do more national stuff. I think they're wrong in the Rittenhouse case. I think they're right on the Arbery case. And again, I'm excited. I'm excited to have a relationship and hang out, do some shows together, and take that point of view and listen, and hopefully get to put my point of view out and be listened in return.
Yeah.
Maybe I can find another libertarian out there that just doesn't understand libertarianism so badly that they might be on board with it. All right, my turn to pee. Oh no. I apologize. Multiple pee breaks. It's not my style. Usually don't do that.
I'm usually pretty good. I mean, usually I can go like a couple hours of drinking and start like getting that 2-hour mark. Like, all right.
I don't know. It's like, okay, so we got this huge slate. I mean, huge slate of ballots coming up. Again, like I said, I don't know what the fuck. I mean, what do we do? Like, all right, so I'd pull it up on the screen for you, but I can't. I mean,
you act like there's like easy answers to the questions we're pondering.
But I think that's the problem. I think that's the issue is that no,
it's not wrong that we're trying to find answers to it, but
it's not even that they need to be easy answers. But I mean, okay, so like I was thinking about. So Rogan had this trans lady on today or whatever, and the description was like political commentator. And I was thinking about that phrase, and I guess this is what I'm trying to get at. Thinking about the phrase, like, what does that mean? What is a political commentator?
It is a very generic term. Just anyone that says anything that has to do with politics is a political commentator.
Right, and so I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, so, what is another person that you can think of who's a commentator? What is another job title that includes commentator? What's the normal one that we're used to, that we hear all the time?
A news analyst, I don't know.
No, that actually has commentator in their title. Like, the sports commentator. Like, sports commentator. Like he's the commentator on the broadcast of this NFL game, whatever it is.
Okay.
So, like, Tony Romo, great commentator. Kind of hard to listen to sometimes because he knows his shit a little too far. Because he's super, like, he knows the shit. Like, he's like, they optioned into this. Here's the play they're about to run, and they do exactly what he says. Right?
Okay.
And so, but the idea is that you're watching a football game. You're watching these...
Former quarterback?
Yes. You're watching these 22 guys on the field go through this complex dance. And he is simplifying it in real time. That's what he does. That's what they do. That's what the job is. And so I was thinking about that, like, in that sense, is that, okay, so you're a political commentator. The other commentators that I can think of are sports commentators who are watching a baseball game. They're a little bit more fluff because they have to kill a bunch of fucking time because they just talk while they're waiting for the next fucking pitch because baseball has problems. But the idea is that they're simplifying a very complex thing. And AC has said this a bunch of times. It's not that politics is that complex. that we can't understand it, because we could sit here and talk about defenses in pro football. Maybe not you, because football is not your thing, but we can talk about the complexities of some of the stuff that goes on in the NHL and in soccer, and we've talked about these things. We've had these conversations. We can do it with sports because we're interested in them. We don't do them in politics because we're not. But I think the other side, too, is the commentators aren't the same. I don't think political commentators are selling the same way that sports commentators are. A good sports commentator is breaking it down and saying, hey, watch this play happen. See how this guy moves this way? When this guy moves that way, this guy makes this, sees that and reacts this way, and this is why this play worked or didn't work. That's what they do. Do we have that in politics? And again, the other question, too, is there...
It's not a majority of political commentators. Generally, political commentators have their kind of set political ideas in mind, and they're explaining it
right. They're selling
from their
right.
From their point of view.
I think that's the issue too. Is that I guess the real thing for me is I think we need to draw a hard fucking line between politics and governance. Yes, I understand they both work together all the time, because a Joe Manchin makes a decision. Joe Manchin might be the best example. Like right now, Mayor Jacobs is doing things knowing that he has an election coming up. So his job as the mayor, his job in governance, is affected by the politics that are coming up because he is running for re-election. Now, I understand that they run together, but that's one of the things I think that the political commentators suck at most, is clarifying that line. Because there is a line between governments and politics, and I think that's one of the biggest issues we have, because we don't understand where that line is. We don't understand that there is a job to do, and then there is a process of getting the job and keeping the job.
I would think it's more of an issue of it being impartial and trying to give an actual political analysis of what's going on.
I hear what you're saying, yeah.
Of both sides.
Yeah. I think that would be a part of that would be a good attribute to have in the process. But I still think saying, the President of the United States cannot do X when it's not a partisan play by media, doesn't happen. Like the only time it's like, well, Biden can't do that, can't put that executive order out. That's unconstitutional. The only time that pops up in conversation is when that media source has a political bent on that, and that's got the politics part attached to it. Nobody's sitting here going, constitutionally speaking, this executive order does not fly.
Right. And that's where,
again,
to a small extent, I mean, there are different interpretations of the Constitution itself.
I agree with that. But I think that's where we go into, like, again, not to go down a COVID rabbit hole here.
Right.
But the OSHA mandate thing that Biden was kind of putting out thing, like...
Right, which the judge just stayed.
Right, and we get this weird process thing that's happening. Like, at what point were we okay with the idea that a president could edict a thing into existence? When did that happen? Like, does he have the authority to do that? Should he have the authority to do that? And more importantly, does the public think he does? And I think that's the problem that's at play here. Because I think, especially people that are fans of Joe Biden, but even people that aren't, think he can. Thinks that he can say, Executive Order 94, boom. It exists now because I said so. Now, agree or disagree with whatever the content of said order is, going on this mandate, the OSHA mandate thing that he played, the particulars of the specifics don't matter. Is that something that we are okay with? Is that something that our government is designed to be able to do? And I think that's one of the things that most people don't understand. And most people make decisions on voting off of things like that they don't understand. Because I think, again, realistically, right now, for most of the people that I listen to, it is most likely that there's going to be a significant shift in the House and Senate in these midterms. One, because it's normal, but two, because Biden's approval ratings are in the fucking dirt. Most of the shit that Biden's approval ratings are? They're not in the dirt? He's above 50%?
Yeah.
Sure?
Yeah.
Shit, I haven't checked in a while. All right, looking this shit up.
I mean, I wouldn't say his approval ratings are stellar, but...
I don't know who the fuck this is. It's the first one that popped up on Google.
Well, yeah, good thing you clicked on it then.
It's the first one that popped up. Google's fucking left his shit.
Yeah, let's take their analysis.
Well, this one, just because it popped up, was 50.5% disapproval, 43.9% approval. USA Today. Better with that one? I gotta read this shit. Just give me the fucking numbers. This is specific to COVID and gun violence. I don't want fucking that shit. Public view on Biden's handling of whatever.
There we go. Biden's approval polling tractor, Reuters graphics. There's a good decent one.
Okay. All right. So what was the one I said before? It was
What'd you
50. It was 50.3 disapprove and 47 approve. Right now he's at 48 and 48. So he's at a plus 0. Less than 50%. Doesn't matter. I was right.
It's the purple on there.
Disapprove.
Ah, so disapproval got better and approval got worse. So the people that didn't like him better now. People that did like him don't like him so much now.
No, everybody. I mean, yeah, I don't fucking know. I don't know how to read one of these things. But the point is, based on what? That's the point I'm bringing up. It doesn't matter whether it was accurate or not. Based on what? Like, what are people making this decision off of? Are they making this decision off of what the job title actually consists of?
Or how they're affected on day-to-day life.
Right, because again, you know, and I said it as a joke, but like I clicked on this USA Today one, and it was Biden faces lowest approval ratings yet in handling of inflation, COVID-19, and gun violence. Are all those under the job title of the President of the United States? Because my understanding is like top of the list, and you were correct earlier in that part of the conversation, top of the list is foreign.
What was I right about?
Is foreign affairs. That's the top of the job title.
Oh, I thought we didn't give a fuck what.
I don't give a fuck. I really don't. I don't. But as far as the job goes, yes. That is the highest of the list of the president's jobs is foreign relations. I don't care that the world thinks we're assholes. If that's what you're asking.
No.
But
I mean, to a certain extent, yes, just as much as at the local level, we expect a lot of our elected officials to do things that are out of their purview.
Right, but the point being is that people are going to go into
him
these
as Biden as the leader of the nation. Yes, we do expect him to at least try to do things about things that affect us.
Right, but this cool Reuters graphic thingy that you had to bring up, people are going to go into this.
That was one of the top 3 or 4.
That's fine. I like Reuters too. My point is people are going to go into this giant fucking ballot that we have this year locally.
Yeah.
With that attached to a D.
That they disapprove?
Right. Because he is the king of the Ds right now.
Right.
He is the top D on the planet, and I'm not happy with what the top D of the planet is doing. It doesn't matter if he is doing anything that he can or can't do. That's not the point. But we elect on those kind of things. That's the problem at play. Because
it depends on how people want to break it down.
People, what do you mean people? How it's broken down to people. That's the point. That's the media point we were making.
Well, I mean, from our state standpoint, our 2 senators are Republicans. So maybe if they see shit going wrong, they should say, hey, our Republican senators aren't doing well. Instead of kicking it straight up to the top and saying
but that's my point.
Democrats are doing worse. But like I'm saying, it all depends on how you want to throw the blame at.
But historically, like actual voting record historically, regardless of your partisan spin on however you want to play it, is what's happening in the White House. I mean, it's the same thing that happened to Trump in 2016. Trump took over a majority Republican Senate, majority Republican House. AC pitched a fit about how could he not build his fucking wall? How did Biden not get his Build Back Better plan? He had everything in place to do it. IEC's argument is that they don't actually want to do it.
They don't want to build back better?
Apparently not. Manchin sure as shit doesn't. But my point being is that all that blame is going to lay at you have you have a fully D-party government right now. So if you're not happy with the world that you live in right now, it's the D party's fault. You're going to vote respectively. Because you don't understand who actually has involvement in what and A, B, or C. You're going to lay it all on because we have a Democratic president and a Democratic House and Senate.
I wonder if part of like the pushback on the whole kind of infrastructure spending is like the actual amount on it, which it is astronomical. But at the same time, in my opinion, a lot of this shit is stuff we've just kind of keep kicking down the road.
Well, but it goes back to what we were saying earlier. What are we spending money on instead?
Sure.
Are we gonna? We got another jet. We got a new aircraft carrier. That's important,
right?
And that's because, and again, that goes to the corruption issue that we've bitched about earlier, or I bitched about at least earlier. Is that you have people right now. Manchin specifically is a good example. Manchin's big problem with the infrastructure deal. Big problem with the Build Back Better plan and all this shit is what's the bottom line number? How much are we going to spend? But he signed off on the last defense spending bill. No questions.
Because you don't want to be seen as un-American and you're not trying to protect America.
Yeah. Or you really like those defense contract dollars in your campaigns, whatever. Either one.
Don't think West Virginia gets too many defense contracts.
I didn't say West Virginia does, but I'm sure he gets some donations to his campaigns.
Possibly.
Either way, yeah, you don't rock the fucking boat on. This is another Roganism that I think is hilarious, and it's not Rogan. He references somebody else every time he brings it up. He's like, I'm pretty sure, because I can't remember. I think it was can't remember which president he referenced, but the idea is he's like, I'm pretty sure there's a video. Like when you get elected, first day you get elected, you go in, sit down, Joint Chiefs of Staff come over, sit down, and you watch a movie. And that movie is different angles of the JFK assassination that you've never seen before. That's all. And then you just leave the room. You go on about your business. There's no way you're not watching that video going, how do they get those? Oh, okay. I see what's happening here. All right. I'll sign off on the defense bill. Moving on.
Okay.
Bad long joke. Bad summation of a better joke that Rogan put together. But the idea being is that, there's a lot of people, there's a number of presidents that have gone in on certain principles, for lack of a better word, that all of a sudden change tune. But the idea being is that the FBI has different footage, or the National Defense Military Industrial Complex basically says, hey, we kill people for a living. That's what we do. So make sure their bills get paid. It's kind of the joke. I did a terrible job. Thanks for making me feel bad about
I get it.
Making a joke on it. It's terrible.
As much as we try to criticize other countries for very suspicious
fuck yeah, we do.
Deaths of things, of people, we've done the same.
Hey, Trump tried to kill Assange. That was a funny one too.
What?
Yeah, he made a joke about, can we kill the guy? Anyway,
No.
It goes in the same category of the PowerPoint thing we talked about last week. Did you hear about that since we talked about it?
No. Oh, do what? PowerPoint?
The PowerPoint on how to, the Jan 6 bullshit, like how to actually overthrow the election. PowerPoint. I can't believe you hadn't heard about that.
Oh, yeah. You did talk about that.
Anyway, the moral of the story is we suck at civics. We suck as a populace at civics. And the two-party system is okay with that because they don't fucking care. As long as one of them are in power, the other one's going to get the next swing. Nothing's going to really change. There's no need to change anything significantly.
To an extent, it keeps people occupied and just kind of fighting that rhetoric.
Right. But it doesn't really do any good for the grand scheme of things. So, I don't. Again, what's the point? The point is to keep them in. I don't. It goes back to this stupid parent analogy that I poorly put together. Is like, what's the point? What's the point of what we're doing? And again, this leans into the libertarianism thing for me.
listen to our kids more and let them tell us what to do.
All right. I guess that's the world we live in. It's in his room. Yeah. I love you. I get okay because again, because I remember we did this many moons ago. I think we put Max on the spot.
How many moons?
8 months, so 7 moons.
Okay.
The math's a little weird.
All right.
But we put Max on the spot and said, like, what is the federal government supposed to do for you? What is the government in general supposed to do for you? Like, This is one of those conversations I'd like to have, and maybe I'll try to do it if I get on the Apostate show.
I remember being surprised by his answers.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. That was exactly what I thought he would say. But
I did. I thought it sounded a lot more, I guess, like left-leaning than I thought.
How? Like, it was national defense, interstate commerce. It's like super basic right shit. I kept it. I don't know where the notes are. I had notes on it.
I thought I remember him, mentioning a lot more about healthcare, blah blah blah.
Now that you're saying that, I don't really remember it. But I guess
I remember. I could have swear I remember like thinking at the time like that was not what I thought that he would have said.
I don't know. I guess to me, the goal would be nothing. I don't want anything from him. It's the goal. Understanding that there's a reality that there is going to have to be something. But I think that's where, I don't know. Where are you at on it? Like, what do you like any level of government? Because I think specifically the Max one was the federal level government. Like, what is Knox County supposed to do? Like, what do you expect them to do for what you pay them for?
The county themselves?
Right. Mayor Jacobs, come on the show, please. Chris Caldwell in the finance office, and Mr. Book and the law director and county commission and Sheriff Spangler. Like, we elect them to do a job. What do we want? Like, what do we actually want from them? What do we need them to do?
It's definitely one thing I've struggled with.
And let me kind of fine point the question too. Not what do you personally?
Right. I know that you were asking me what I want.
No. Like, what do you want them to do for you, not for us?
Oh, for me.
And yeah, not for an us or a we or some.
I mean, I'd like to see county trash pickup. City does it. I'd like to see the county be able to do that.
Okay.
It'd be great if the county would then extend what KPD does or KFD? Yeah. KFD.
You want fire coverage?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why just the city gets free fire coverage and then...
Because you pay twice as much as taxes.
The county
tax that we do.
Okay.
I'm just saying, that's...
I mean, I swear it's like every 3 days I hear about like house fires and shit. I'm just like, man, I hope I wasn't in the county because, you didn't pay your yearly rural metro just in case. I guess you can call it insurance or whatever.
I mean, you just pay extra. It's just an extra tax. Just subtax. Say what?
Extortion!
Yes. She's right. That's why I love her.
I love you.
Okay.
Sorry.
You're fine.
I mean, yeah, you call it extortion.
You do it. It's cool. We got to chill
Call
blue.
it extortion or whatever. But
Good night.
Love you.
Love you.
I mean, there's some people that don't call the rural metro just because they can try and put it out themselves.
Okay.
What else we got?
I mean, you're a county resident, so what does the county do for you that's worth them doing currently?
I'm a county resident, yes.
Yeah. So what are you paying county tax for?
I have no choice.
That's not the... What are you getting? What are you getting for the county tax you are forced to pay?
That's a better question.
I mean, extortion's the right word. That's why she's wonderful. But again, that's what I think that's one of the things, like, because it's one of the issues I have with AC, and I terribly articulate most of the time, and I'll probably do it again now, is that, and I think this is one of the core ideals of libertarianism, is that I don't presume for you. I don't presume to know what you want to do, how you want to be, how you want to live. I know you personally well, but the royal you, any you that sits across the table from me,
right,
and I sit and talk to you, I don't presume shit for you.
Okay.
I don't presume what you want, what you need.
Do you accept that there's added needs outside of what you as a personal need?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%. But I don't necessarily accept that the state's the one to fill the gaps. That's where the libertarianism really gets hardcore. And we don't need to go down that road. But my point is that, like, I don't see the point. Oh, that's not the way I want to say that. Sure, whatever. We'll do it in the catchphrase. I don't see the point of Knox County government. I don't see the point of the city of Knoxville government. I don't see anything of real value. And this is an extreme way to say it. I'm intentionally going over the extreme. I don't see any real value in what they do for me.
So the better system would be.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if you've got that mindset, I'm assuming you've gone down that rabbit hole of a better.
I mean, sure.
A better system.
I mean, absolutely, I have. I mean,
you can't just turn the system up on its head and not expect something to be in place.
And to be fair to reality, is that I think there are some things that exist that I do think, and that's why I would call myself a minarchist and not a full anarchist. It's a whole separate categories of whatever. Like, I do, like, infrastructure, like real infrastructure needs make sense to me. Like, real infrastructure, roads, stoplights, shit like that makes sense to me. Like, that the idea of privatizing that kind of thing gets really complicated and really expensive. No, maybe not really expensive, but really complicated really fast. And I don't see the value in that overall. But outside of that, like, I don't. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, and maybe this is a privileged spot that I'm sitting in. I've never been in a situation where I've needed the police. But I pay for them all the time. Constantly. Year in and year out.
In paying your taxes, yes.
I've never been in a situation when I've needed the fire department. I don't pay for them. I live in the county. I did get the bill from them, but that was a whole separate debacle. Right? To say that I would never need them or couldn't possibly need them or whatever, I don't know. But I mean, realistically, like, when you get down to police, I mean, police are reactionary at best. They get you justice for the crime that happened. They don't stop crime from happening. Maybe. I mean, we can sit and, I mean, I'm sure there's some data conceptually on X, Y, or Z, but at the end of the day, I don't know. I have a gun. I have a couple guns, actually. Like, I've never been in a situation where I needed to use one on a person.
No, that'll protect you.
But
because you walk around armed at all times?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, but I don't have. There's not a cop that's hanging around by me all the time either.
It's true.
So, I mean, the floating assertion of, I mean, I don't know, like the idea that, well, if you do the thing, you're going to get in trouble and you're going to go to jail.
Okay, so Robert walked in right now, gun in your face.
Oh,
you're in the same situation you would be whether if you had a gun or if you would have called the cops. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a good thing I pay for cops. What are you trying to say?
I'm saying.
So I'd be in the same spot. So if cops didn't exist and I didn't have a gun on me right now, if somebody walked in to rob me, I'd be shit out of luck. You're right, 100%.
Sorry, I'm going off on a different logic. Sorry.
No, you're 100% right. I mean, I get it. They might have their drone out, though. If they had their drone out here, maybe they saw it happen.
I'm sorry. I was just pushing back on the whole rhetoric of good guns stop bad people or whatever.
Sometimes. Not always. But I mean, that
Good-
is the assumption that a cop has a good gun.
Good people with guns stop bad people with guns.
Well, maybe sometimes, maybe not.
Mo-
Good
mo-
bad cops with guns kill people.
more-
Good cops with guns stop things from happening. I don't know.
More often than not.
What? Good people with guns don't do anything?
Aren't saving anything.
Okay. How often are cops?
Depends on the situation. I agree. They're not there all the time, everywhere.
I mean, but I'm just saying, like that principle, that idea, is what I think is missing. It's like this assumption that more cops, better cops, whatever, is going to stop things. Like the punitive concept.
Well,
of
and the
criminal
idea
justice system.
that everyone just having being personally armed is going to protect themselves. It's going to
I
stop
wasn't trying
all
to go down this
that's going
road
to
at all.
stop all that crime.
No.
I'm just trying to do both sides of this. That yes, that more cops aren't going to stop it, but also more homeowners with their own guns aren't going to stop shit.
I mean, I don't know. It depends. I mean, if you really want to get down to the brass tacks of it, I don't know.
It all depends.
I mean, it really does. Because, I mean, like if we had a rash of issues in this neighborhood and we all got together and me and my neighbors talked, which probably, assuming a handful of my neighbors have guns, we started our own neighborhood watch that was outside of Knox County Sheriff's neighborhood watch, whatever. We can go do it. We can protect ourselves. We can go out and patrol our own neighborhood. Why not? I mean, sheriff's office might do it if we bitch about it enough, but we have to bitch about it enough. Why do I have to complain to get protected by the state when I could just protect myself? I don't know how we got down this road. This is not at all where I was going with any of this. My point is, what are you getting for your tax dollars? That's what I was trying to get at. It's like, what do you get? I go to the fucking grocery store. I get food for the dollars I give them. I go to the movies. I get 2 hours of entertainment. Maybe not very good, but it depends on the quality of the movie. It's not the movie theater's fault the movie sucked.
I'm sorry. I really need to do a better job of digging into, because I've mentioned it before, there's many things that
I agree 100%. There's certainly shit that's going on
we don't think about.
Right? I mean, again, and
I mean, just with with you personally, I think I've looked at just like the comptroller. There's like the comptroller's assistant, whatever, that deals specifically with helping small businesses find advantages in A, B, or C.
Okay, but and again, to be real and honest about it,
I mean, but that's something that's costing taxpayers money, but it's there to benefit taxpayers and people that can't take advantage of it.
Right, Chris Davis. I mean, because he wants to get mentioned on shows, he exists, and he gets paid by the state, and he should, because he does a really fucking serious job of making sure that we get decent elections to happen.
Right.
Those things need to exist. I get it.
We gotta stop.
I'm not trying to say that taxes shouldn't exist.
We got to stop all these rigged elections.
I mean, honestly, as much shit that we got for the Eric Wader show, I kind of hear what he's saying on this. Do we need to have 2 weeks of early voting? Does it need to be that easy? Does it? Because it's not about whether it's that easy for me and you. It's that it plays into the game. It plays into their ability to play the game. Like, I get the premise he was going on. I don't necessarily agree with it. I'm not saying we shouldn't have 2 weeks of early voting. But I get the idea of what he was saying. Is that by having 2 weeks and having them that have that data available to them, they can adjust the game they're playing in real time. And that changes the outcome of elections.
As far as closing and opening polling places?
No, as far as how many days of early voting we have. We have 2 weeks of early voting. That's standard in the state of Tennessee.
Okay.
Tennessee is one of the longer states that does it, blah, 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 whatever. That changes the election process.
How so?
Because the parties...
Who's it advantaging by having early voting open to any available voter?
Because they have the data. Either whichever version of it advantages...
Both sides have the data.
Yes.
Okay.
It advantages the two-party fucking system. Okay. Yes, you're right. 100%. All right.
So who's it advantaging?
The better question is who's it disadvantaging?
The third-party voters?
Any independent candidate. You're right. 100%.
Why? How so?
Because they don't have the fucking data.
What the fuck are you talking about?
The GOP data that Eric was talking about,
all right.
The Democratic Party data that Matt talks about all the time is real data.
All right.
They adjust what they are doing by the data they are getting in early voting. An independent candidate does not have access to that data.
That would give them to advantage to do or do not do what?
That would change the way that they are working their campaign. A focus here, a focus there. More door knockings in this neighborhood than that neighborhood. Like real, down-to-earth, actual functional changes in election process. Because the data the parties have available to them that the independents don't.
How many independent
Because we have 2 weeks early voting.
How many independent candidates did we have run?
Who gives a shit? Is that the point?
You're saying there being disadvantages, and I'm asking you if we actually had any fucking...
We have independent candidates every fucking election. Not in the city races in this last thing. They're all independent candidates by definition. But this coming year, we're going to have independent candidates. And they don't have access to that data. The Republican Party and the Democratic Party and their candidates are going to shift their campaigns.
Why do they not have the access to that data?
Because it's party data. It's what the party puts together. Part of it is election record. Part of it is public data. Part of it is not.
So the independents don't have access to eligible voters.
They do not have access to a nationwide database of voters. Period.
Because that's... Why would our locals look at nationwide database?
It's not that they look at nationalized database. It's that the RNC and the DNC have national databases on every precinct in the country. Part of those databases are based on public record. Part of them are not. So if you just take the public record portion of it, an independent candidate doesn't have access to it anyway.
Why not?
I mean, they theoretically have access to it, but the amount of time and energy...
Only in theory.
The amount of time and energy it would take to aggregate that data into something useful is longer than the process. So no, they don't have true access to that data. Yes, they can go and pull it. They could print off thousands of pages of shit, but the ability to break that data down into something useful, they don't have.
Only the Democrats and Republicans have the ability to do that.
Yes, because the database already exists. It's just a feeding process. It's exactly what I've been told by multiple people, including Matt Shears and Randy Pace and fucking Waiter this last week. It's exactly what they're talking about. And they make moves in their campaigns off that data. Who does that advantage? Not me and you, the person that are voting for shit. Because maybe we like an independent candidate. Maybe that independent candidate would be really good at the job. But the political process needs the data, and they don't have it. Needs that information, and they don't have it. They don't have access to it. Doesn't help me and you. Helps the parties, 100%. Both sides. I lost where we started. But
solution?
Our solution is kill the fucking parties. Kill this database bullshit.
Good luck with that.
Well, no shit. I mean, yeah, no shit. But I mean, it's not. Again, what the whole point. This whole subsection of this episode started with, what does the government do for you? Well, government exists off of politics. What does politics do for you? What does it do for you? The idea that they exist is a stupid parent-child thing that I threw out on a fucking whim. That is not a very good analogy for conversation.
Thank you.
But I threw it on a fucking whim. The idea that the idea is that they are supposed to work for me and you to make it easier for us to commerce, to interact with each other, to travel from parts of town to parts of town, from state to state. The idea that that's what they are supposed to exist for. Do we get the value for what we pay on the idea of what they're supposed to exist for? I don't think we do. I think we spend more to get less every fucking year. Every year we keep spending more and we get less in return over and over and over again.
What more would you like?
I don't want any more. I want to spend less. I want less dollars coming out of my pocket.
What services do you want to give up?
I mean, the only service I use is the fucking roads. And maybe the 10,000 other little services that we don't really know about because the comptroller hasn't told us about them yet. I would love to go down the road on all the other services. I really do. I think about it often. It's like, what does this thing do? Like, where does this thing go? Like, what does this mean? Like, how? Like, I don't know. You know, I mean, I got kids in the fucking school system. School system sucks. They're fucking terrible. Is it as good as we can do? Maybe. I don't know. I don't understand it. It's too goddamn complicated. There's too many people doing shit. Books are too fucking expensive. Teachers aren't getting paid enough, but they're too expensive too. How the fuck do we rectify that statement alone? We can't afford teachers that don't get paid enough.
Well, I mean, in the same kind of talk that you've talked about different police agencies, same thing happens.
Time out. Same thing happens with teachers, and we've talked about with police agencies as far as training and then just kind of getting poached by outside states and outside districts. I mean, not so much as what we've talked about with the police as far as getting training here and then getting poached, but it's been a nationwide issue with law enforcement, teachers, and many other jobs. Okay. I mean, yeah, but
some of it, I mean, it
other than states,
don't really equate as far as like cost of living, but it's
right,
like, hey, if you come move here,
right? I think there's
you get paid so much more a year.
I think realistically, my assumption is, and I don't know this for a fact, my assumption is that as a ratio against cost of living, teachers get paid about the fucking same anywhere in this country. Against cost of living, not pure dollars. I don't know that for a fact.
Yeah.
But that would be my guess, realistically. I don't know.
I would like to think that's true, yes.
And again, it's like, you know, I don't know. It's just such a stupid conversation because the reality is, let's talk military spending. If we want to talk
is
about
that the reality of the conversation? It's what you want to keep going back to.
I mean, it's more than half the fucking total federal budget.
I agree.
You know, and what is the number one? And again, to me, what is your number one tax burden as a citizen? Is it your local tax? Is it your state tax, or is it your federal tax?
On average, I probably pay more in sales tax back to the state than federal taxes.
You think so? Really?
Yeah.
How? That's not possible. What are you paying federal tax? Percentage? Ballpark?
No fucking clue.
I mean, I'm pretty sure like the average minimum is like 20-ish %.
Is that more than 9 1/4?
20 is more than 9 1/4, yeah.
Okay.
And it's of your gross, right? So let's say, for conversation's sake, you make $100,000 a year. I know that's not a real number. Relax. You pay $20,000 in federal income tax, right? On $100,000.
Yeah. With no deductions. Okay.
Right. So you have $80,000 left. You spend all that $80,000 in the state of Tennessee. You can't spend all that $80,000. You're only spending like $71,000 because the other $9,000 goes to state sales tax. So that's 9%. $9,000 total. So ballparking, you as an individual pay.
No, it's paycheck or general paycheck. How much goes back to Social Security and
A little bit. I mean, that's just going to lessen your state. I mean, if you're spending every dollar you make in the state of Tennessee with Social Security and Medicare and all the other deductions from your paycheck other than income tax, it's just going to lessen your net pay, which if you spend 100% of your net pay, whatever it is, it's just going to lessen that. Because your new net pay is $75,000. You spend 100% of that $75,000, you're 68. You know, it's like $68,000 a year, and then you're paying $7,000 or $8,000 in income or state sales tax.
No, I could be wrong.
I mean, again, it matters what you're
guesstimating.
Yeah, and I mean, and we are on the lower income bracket, and so we're not paying as high a percentage.
Maybe it's when I'm realizing that I'm paying where I'm getting that paycheck and not
right,
really.
right, because you don't care
I'm
about
just spending everything else.
Right, because realistically, your salary is X. Who cares what your salary is? It's what you take home that matters. But then you spend most of what you take home locally, and that goes into state sales tax. But I'm pretty sure for the average citizen, more of their money goes to the federal government than the local. I could be wrong. Somebody could correct me on that. But again, doesn't matter. What are they doing for you? Doesn't matter. You know, that's really that. I don't know. And again, I'm happy to hear it. I just don't see it. Actually, there's a TWRA. Our friends at 4LTN are working on a bill that's supposed to kind of curb some TWRA action, which I'm interested in following. Because apparently, basically, the idea is that if it's under the guise of hunting, TWRA can come on your property without a if it's to check on hunting situations, TWRA can come on your property without a fucking warrant. So, like, if we buy a piece of land and we're out in the back 40 of our piece of land,
right,
TWRA can just walk onto our land. And I kind of get it both ways, to be fair. I mean, we're buying that piece of land to hunt on.
I guess it depends on the circumstance.
I mean, I don't know.
They would have to have a verifiable reason to be there.
Nope, they don't currently. That's the law in question that 4LTN is kind of pushing back on. It's like, okay, yeah, we get it. It's a natural resource conversation. It's, I don't own the deer. I own the land that the deer are on. And there are rules about shooting the deer. And, well, if TWRA is not allowed to come on my land and check on me, I can shoot all the deer on my land. They can't do shit because they don't know I'm shooting them. So they're allowed to come on my land whenever they want without a warrant, without any probable cause to think that I'm shooting more deer than I'm allowed to shoot. That kind of thing. It's an interesting question. I mean, it's a very interesting one. It makes sense to me, both sides of the conversation.
I'd have to look at their reasonings for having to come on land. They're just doing a...
Well, that's what I'm saying, is the reasons for are not given, are not required to be given. Where if a cop wants to come into my house right now, he has to have a reason.
Right.
And that reason being that he suspects real current danger to a somebody right now, whatever that part of probable cause is, or
imminent danger or something.
Yeah, or an actual warrant with a piece of paper signed by a judge that says you're allowed to go to that person's house.
Yeah,
TWRA doesn't require to have that, so it's an interesting thing. So, I'm gonna I need to get a hold of AC and see if he can get a hold of TWRA, get that interview set up, because that'd be interesting. So, all right, we went long. We had pee breaks. We did all the things that human beings do. I'm going to get up in 5.5 hours. I'm going to go hunting. You want to come with me?
Nah, probably not.
Lame. AC's not coming either. Yeah. Stupid kid. The kid's not going to change me. I'm still going to be doing whatever I want to do. Anything else? Last call. Anything to say? Something you missed? Come on. You've got to miss something. Something on your brain. Tell me what's in your brain.
Did you hear about the... I can't remember the name of it. There's a iceberg that's getting ready to break off in Antarctica.
Getting ready to?
Yeah.
No, they're not brothers.
Very close to.
There's a big fracture, but it's still attached.
Apparently, this one kind of large, like iceberg, essentially, or it's a shelf, I guess is what they're calling it. But I guess essentially, once it breaks off, it'll be an iceberg.
It's still attached as part of the shelf. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's basically what's kind of like also holding back and kind of keeping seawater from getting to a glacier. But I think they said like once this breaks off, it increase the overall, like, worldwide seawater level by 3 to 4 feet.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's like the something ice shelf. It's
been
in the news, yeah.
Not enough. How did I not hear about this? That's like that 3 or 4 feet. That's world changing shit.
Right. I mean, they said it could take 3 or 4 more years.
No. Bullshit. I call bullshit.
Okay.
No fucking way.
All right. I mean, we can look it up when we get off air. It's no point in wasting time.
No, I'm going to bed.
I'm looking up now.
I'm going to bed as soon as you turn this thing off.
Okay.
There's no way. 3 or 4 feet?
Yeah.
Sure it's not inches?
Yeah.
100%?
Yeah.
Damn, that's a lot of fucking water.
Yeah.
It's a big piece of ice.
It's a large chunk of ice that would then be displacing water.
But it's not currently displacing water because it's on land?
Correct.
Okay. I'm not. This turned into a physics conversation on accident. I can't believe I haven't heard about that because that's significant. I mean, like, by New Orleans.
Well, it said like the worst part of it was this one thing was holding back the glacier, which then once this breaks off, allows more seawater to get to this glacier, which then
the glacier will start breaking off faster and faster and faster.
Exacerbates, that glacier.
Huh. Well, second coastal people, I guess. Your beach is now significantly further inland.
I've seen it for years. I mean, there's communities in the South Pacific that they've been gradually seeing the effects of the ocean sea level rising.
Yeah. We'll be dead. No worries.
Yeah. No, don't worry about it.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, like,
Are you alive right now? Don't worry about it.
Yeah. You'll be dead. Your kids will probably be dead. Your grandkids are fucked. Something like that. We'll figure it out. We're people. That's what we do.
Yeah, yours, right?
I don't fucking know. Like, I really don't know how to deal with it anymore. That's part of the problem. It's like, I mean, realistically, it's like, I don't know. Like, I again, like, we can get back and forth on the believe or disbelieve on how much people are involved in the process. I don't care whether it's a people issue or a not people issue. It's an issue that's happening. Like, realistically, the thing's happening whether it's our fault or not.
I see part of your point.
Can we help to slow it down? That's an ideological game we could play, sure. But at the end of the day, it's happening. How are we going to deal with it happening?
There's no real discourse on the human involvement in it.
Right, but can we realistically, functionally slow it down enough from what we're adding to it, or is it too late for that? And then what do we do from there? That's kind of where I'm at on it. Can we really, like, could we get to some weird, amazing, all of a sudden tomorrow be carbon neutral and it's going to change anything?
Elon Musk was like putting something up in space or building something to start absorbing carbon.
There's conversation about
there's been a few like
some cloud
like
shit.
literally like factories that have been built too, that are just straight up taking in carbon.
Yeah. That's like a building in Australia that he built.
Yeah,
that was a Musk thing.
That was like Scandinavian. I saw. Maybe, I'm sure there's probably more than one.
Yeah. I mean, you got that. I mean, the bottom line is, sadly, humanistic issues, whatever. You got to figure out how to make it monetize. You got to monetize it.
Well, that's what they tried to do with the carbon credits.
Yeah, but
then corporations found kind of holes in the system of that where they can kind of like trade it around to one another.
Yeah. No, well, you got to figure out how to take
like, oh, were you super dirty this year? We'll trade you some.
Yeah, well, you got to figure out how to make that super filter thing that Elon Musk is creating, monetize it. Like, okay,
well, I think that's why they were trying to encourage like the carbon credits. It's like,
right,
hey,
everybody pitch in.
If you can reduce, it'll save you this much.
Right, let's everybody. But again, this is where the tax thing doesn't work, right? And this is the libertarian argument. It's like, all right, if this is a real thing, let's figure out a way to monetize it so that people will invest in a carbon filter, and we can build a 25-story building downtown Knoxville that sucks all the carbon out of the air, downtown Knoxville. And the people that invest in that make money. Figure out how to make that make money. That's the game. Can we turn that carbon into something useful that we collect? Like when we clean those filters out and clean all the bullshit that we suck out of the air. Can we do something with that stuff that's monetizable?
Are diamonds carbon?
If you Pressure and time. Pressure and time.
What about the cubic zirconium?
Yeah, there you go. But I'm just saying, like, that's the game. I mean, that's the way to fix the problem here. Is monetize it.
That's how you incentivize it. Yes.
Right, but monetize it without government. That's the real one. Because these government ones, people find loopholes around it because they don't want to. They do it because they have to, and then they play these little games and find loopholes.
Right.
Where if you make somebody will figure it out, and I think that's one of the things that Elon Musk truly actually tries to do. With some of the shit that he does, he tries to figure out ways around it and monetize things that people, it's like the kid that built the trash picker upper thingy in the oceans. It's like he's doing it to he figured out a way to collect ocean trash, but also monetize what he's collecting, not just get grants for the thing he's making. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're making sunglasses.
Right.
I think I saw that.
Right, but I mean, he's monetizing on the idea of they're not great sunglasses. It's just that they're using that recycled shit sunglasses, and so like he's monetized the idea of the waste that I'm picking up has value. That's the game that we need to figure out how to play in the ozone climate issues. Because it's sellable. I mean, and even if it's just...
I mean, I had to look at the numbers. I don't know if it's actually, like, profitable for him to pay for these large boats to go into the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
But even if it's just for marketing.
To sell, like you said, kind of cheap-looking circa 1995 sunglasses.
But he's selling sunglasses.
Right, and a lot of it are bought just for people.
Right,
from people that are like, "Hey, this is bought," which
exactly.
we should encourage.
Even if that is the monetary, is just the marketing part of it. That is the game we could play. I mean, that is a legitimate part of the game we could play.
Like I said, I'd be curious to look at their books to see if they're actually making money on the sunglasses versus how much it costs for them for fuel on 3 or 4 large boats to have nets. To bring that all in.
Fuel's evil. Anyway.
They're electric boats.
Sweet. Good deal.
That are powered by coal companies.
I mean, that's one of the funny things about the electric car movement. But we'll get back into nuclear. I mean, I don't know. That's one of the things. That's one of the weirdisms, and this is a Randy Pace thing, is, the most efficient way to produce energy, nuclear power plants.
Oh, that sounds great. If we could figure out what we're doing with the amount of nuclear waste we already have that we literally do not have the storage for.
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if that's that's one of those things.
That's the problem.
No, I don't know that it exists. That's part of the problem too. Like, I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know that exists? We literally, the amount of nuclear waste that we have, the United States does not have the capacity to store it.
Get Elon Musk to shoot it to Mars, because he wants to nuke Mars anyway to make it habitable.
If it wasn't so expensive to put things in space. I've had that thought too. I'm like, why don't we just start shooting trash up into space?
It's a great Futurama episode.
But there's enough space junk orbiting our planet as it is.
No, I'm saying, like, anyway. All right.
Yeah.
We're almost in agreement. Sam's doing the outro.
No.
Oh, you've been practicing that, haven't you?
No.
Yeah, you have. So almost in agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Find us on the interwebs at almostinagreement.com. While you're there, please subscribe, like, friend, share, follow. Not at the website, that's the harder thing to do. But on your major podcast providers, get us there. Tell your friends about us. Get us going on things. I'm going to get some party chairs in here before the end of the year, and then first of the year I'm going to go real hard at trying to get as many candidates as possible and do that kind of thing. But I don't know, we're almost in agreement. Tell me how much you hate me on the Facebooks. It makes me laugh, and we'll engage relentlessly. So almost in agreement on Facebook. That's where you can really piss me off. So all right, good night everybody. I'm going to head in the morning. I got to go to bed. Tired, sleepy. Sam's laughing at me and I don't like it. But my Sam's cooler than the other podcast Sam.
What's the name of that podcast?
3 hour show,
again?
bitches.